Hello. Welcome. Hi. Just getting started talking about the brain today. Um, there we go. Yeah. Hi. Hello. Welcome. How's everybody doing? I welcome you to me. Hello. 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 Hi. Hi, Rachel Marie. How are you? What is happening today? I've got my coffee. I've got my water. Got my neuron. He's doing pretty good. He's cute. His little eyes. His little eyes. Oh, I should probably invite some people. Let's see. You. Never you. 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 Okay, that's probably good. What's poppin'? What's crack-a-lackin'? Hello. Just getting started. Hi. Um, yeah. Just decided to go live a day early. Normally I do my Friday night live, or I have been the last couple of weeks. I'll probably do it again tomorrow, but I just kind of been bored, cooped up in my house, quarantining right now. So I was exposed to COVID the other day from a coworker, and I got tested today. So I'm waiting to find out. Hopefully, I don't have it. There was a good period of time where, not like a good period, there was a short period of time where we were in the same close vicinity without masks. So silly me, I should have been more careful, but I think I feel okay so far. Yeah, we'll find out. Yeah, and if you want to, feel free to join me on YouTube. I'm live on YouTube as well. If you are not subscribed to my channel, Neural Jack, which is up there, please feel free to come subscribe and check us out there. Yeah, I need more subscribers. I'm trying to build the platform, monetize, make more content. I want to make more educational content. I want to do lectures online. But in order to do that, I need a bigger following. So feel free to hop on over. In the meantime, ask me about the brain. What do you want to know? It's gooey, about the consistency of room temperature butter. I'm told it smells and tastes like bacon when you fry it up. Although that may come with some issues. Yeah. Yeah, things like Kuru. I did a video on Kuru a while back, but now that we have the access to 3-minute videos on TikTok, maybe I'll make a new one. I should do a video of Kuru on here on Neural Jack. Yeah. Hello, what's up? Welcome. Hi, welcome. Yeah. I don't know what to talk about. I've been researching this when synapses communicate between two neurons. There's also oftentimes a mediator process there with astrocytes, which are glial cells. You burned your thumb. Oh, dang it. How'd that happen? You're going to experience some allodynia now. It's where you get really sensitive to heat stimuli that would normally not burn, but now will. I think we're all familiar with that. You burn yourself running under cold water or whatever. Then you get anywhere near a surface that's just kind of warm and it'll hurt. Yeah, allodynia. But yeah, so I'm looking at the mechanism of how astrocytes are mediating glutamate at excitatory synapses. And that's been pretty interesting. I found out that when a neuron, a presynaptic neuron, fires glutamate out into the synapse so that the receiving neuron can receive it, The astrocyte actually does a great deal of taking that up and converting it into glutamine. And then it goes through a whole cycle where it has to recreate glutamate and send it back to the presynaptic neuron. The reason this is important is because in the research I'm doing, this mechanism might be explaining why I'm seeing some really weird numbers. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out some pain stuff. Yes, hello, welcome, peoples. Aw, thanks for the likes. I appreciate you. Yeah. What do we want to know? I was just reading up on Kanye West. People brought him up last week saying that he had bipolar disorder. Apparently, it's pretty well known that he has bipolar disorder. I'm not surprised at all. I didn't know that about him, but I'm not surprised. That grandiosity is often one of the close to psychotic symptoms that comes along with bipolar disorder when they're in a manic state. Also, people who are suffering from bipolar and enter into a manic state tend to get a lot of stuff done. And, he seems to have done that. He's made quite the career for himself. Yeah. It's also been kind of fun, like looking at the back and forth between him and Pete Davidson, Pete Davidson is like kind of my spirit animal. That guy's great. I love that guy. He's just, oh man, he gets it. Yep. Kids see ghosts. Yep. Let's see what else. Katie sent me an article. I wonder where she's at. She better be here soon. You're off to go get tested. Dang it. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I got tested today. I don't know if you were here for that. I'm upstairs quarantining in the house. Harmony's downstairs. We've been masked, double masked, staying away from each other. I went and got tested, and I was hoping I might get the results today, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So we'll hopefully get them tomorrow. They move pretty quick here, so I don't expect it'll take too long. Do we have free will? No. Next question. I'm just kidding. I don't know if we have free will. There's actually a lot of neurological evidence to suggest that we don't. But I don't know. Maybe it's not that we don't have free will. Maybe it's we need to adjust how we define free will, right? Yep, just got tested. But there are certainly a lot of little pieces of evidence that just sort of kind of hint at this idea that we think we're making choices, but in reality, we have underlying biological processes that might be making choices for us, and we're just not really aware of those things happening. Yeah, so I don't know if you know, but when I was getting a tattoo yesterday, I was thinking about pain and endorphins, like how that works. Yeah, I mean, I study pain here at Yale. There's a lot of things going on with endorphins. And also, I tattooed for a lot of years too, so I know quite a bit about that process. First off, everybody experiences pain differently, right? That's the first thing. I've seen little tiny gals who are like 18 years old getting their first tattoo ever, big old thing right across their ribs, normally very painful, and they're just like they handle it, no problem. And then you see like the big old burly dude with the beard. He's just all gruff looking. He's getting like this little tiny tattoo on his shoulder, good meaty area. Shouldn't be any pain. He'll just the whole time, just crying, whining about it. Everybody experiences pain differently. So we have to talk about threshold, right? Threshold for pain, right? Threshold for activation. At what point Does it go from an annoying stimulus to a painful stimulus? And uh, that looks different for everybody. And actually, it can change too. Like if you take Tylenol, right? The whole mechanism behind like things like Tylenol or even things like NSAIDs is that they don't take pain away, they just raise your threshold for that excitability. So they make it harder for your pain signals to be sent. It takes more effort, right? Um, Another thing is you'll notice that humans do a few things naturally to naturally increase their endorphins. I know I'm kind of speaking redundantly. I'm not trying to, but one thing is if you like hurt yourself, right? You tend to like hold it. The act of pressing for some reason sort of overstimulates the neurons, and during that time, your body's sort of kicking in. Hi, kicking in. That whole endogenous opioid system. Yeah. You knew it. Yeah. No free will for us. We only get pain and confusion. Yeah. Doing another one Sunday. Hopefully you can get back to work next week. Yeah, I hope you can. I'm sorry to hear that. That's so annoying. I did my test yesterday. Harm said if it comes back negative, then maybe we can hang out, but I don't know yet because like you said, you're taking another one here soon. I'll probably take another one first. I don't know. Wait a couple days. I was exposed Tuesday, and it can manifest up to 5 days later. So, like, you might not even test positive for 5 days. So, I feel like if I get tested again, maybe Saturday, I'll be kind of be playing with fire. But if I test negative, I might call it good. Hi, Katie. You'll pray for me. Thanks. Appreciate it. Pray for me because of COVID, or pray for me because what? My heathen. Is it the Iron Maiden shirt? It's the Iron Maiden shirt. Does popping kids in early childhood affect their development? You mean like pop? You mean like corporal punishment? Yes, it does. It absolutely does. Uh, there's actually some good stuff about that. That the American Psychological Association has. That was a great debate for a really long time. I remember when I was in school, I had to debate for it. I had to debate for the use of physical punishment on kids. And it was really hard to find evidence on that, on why you should do it. And the American Psychological Association had one article that said that done a very specific way, open palm, one swat to the butt. And it said you should only do this if no other method has worked. You've tried sitting down and talking with your kid, you've tried a million other things, da 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 da. Then and only then should you maybe consider trying it. And even then, you probably shouldn't, but you could. And then afterward, you have to go through this entire process of uh, debriefing your child, right? Explaining that you love your child, why you felt you had to go to that extent, da 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 da, right? One article, and it was very specific about everything that you had to do in order to do this, and it was as a last resort only. And then that article was later retracted like 2 years later because they're like, you know what? On second thought, nah, there's just no reason you should ever hit your kid. Um, Definitely, there is no reason that abuse. That's abuse. That is. You shouldn't hit your children. Some people go, well, I was hit as a kid and I turned out fine. And like, if you honestly think you turned out fine after being hit as a kid, you probably didn't turn out so fine. You're probably pretty tough, but I'm just saying, like, I used to think I turned out fine. I got swatted a lot. I used to think I turned out fine. And then I had to grow up and realize, nah, I'm a little messed up, man. Um, there's always a better way to do it. You can always talk to your kids. Um, As far as how it affects them in early development, right? Okay, let me give you this example. So, oftentimes, parents that do the swatting thing do not. They're very authoritarian, right? And this type of parenting style is pretty well known to be one of the worst parenting styles. It's basically the style that says, you do what I say when I say you do it because I'm the parent. Why? Because I'm the parent. You don't ask why. It kind of makes me think of if you ever watch Adventure Time, it makes me think of Lemon Grab. 500 years dungeon, you know? um, just no questions asked. You're in trouble. Bye. SWAT. Uh, but so anyway, the problem with the authoritarian style of parenting is that children do not take to it. It doesn't teach your child anything. The only thing they learned is that you don't make sense, right? You have no reason for why you did that. One, I can't trust you. You hit me. Two, you didn't even explain to me why you hit me, right? Because that's usually the case. They don't explain it. It's just bam, go to your room. Uh, so I can't trust you. You hurt me. Also, you don't make sense. You're really unreliable. This is definitely going to cause this child to rebel. Most of the time, these kids are like the most rebellious children, especially in their teens. But on the way to becoming a teen, they don't trust their parent. So then, when their parent is trying to teach them, they're not picking up on a lot of the things that they should be picking up on. And also, uh, if you're doing a parenting style that doesn't allow your child to feel free enough that they can go explore on their own, they're going to sit still because they're afraid that anything they might do might upset you, right? They don't want to do that because they don't want to get swatted. They don't want to, go through this whole process where they get a long earful and none of it makes sense. It's just so what ends up happening is they don't do anything or the reverse. So like everybody's different, right? Some kids will sit there and do nothing, in which case, yeah, you're impeding your development because you're just sitting there doing nothing when you should be exploring the world and learning from it. Conversely, other children will kind of do that rebellious thing where they just get into all sorts of trouble all the time, all trouble all the time, because then they end up trying to just seek attention. That also happens with children that are neglected. Awesome shirt. Thanks. Since before I mentioned the article. Okay. Oh, yeah. I mentioned the article. I didn't even talk about it. But yeah, Katie sent an article about AI and can it show us through like quantum computing, I'm guessing, if we're in a simulation or not. If our universe is simulated, that'd be great if our universe was simulated and we're all part of that one simulation, but we all think we're separate aspects. Because then it's like, oh, the Buddhists were right. I guess maybe that's Buddha's dream. I don't know. What? Pick a stick? Yeah, no way. Pick one too big. Yeah, my parents have broke kitchen utensils on me. It's not a good idea. Right. Just because we survived doesn't mean we turned out good. you know, I think we turned out good because we have sympathy for other human beings. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but hey, if you're living like a really rough enough life, maybe you just that whole generation, man. I don't know. I think we're moving away from the boomer generation. They really did get a lot of brain damage. There's something up with that generation. Not everybody, but like it is pretty common with all the different chemicals and stuff that they just survived with. Uh, so it makes sense to me, especially with how harsh they were treated, that their only response is to be harsh in return. But in the same token, I guess, It's not really fair that the world literally handed everything to boomers, to the baby boomers. They just got everything. The economy was like amazing for them. So good they thought they'd take everything and then die with it. Dan Hartley, what's up? It was the DTT. What's that? The only thing we learned was to adapt and how powerful words actually are. Correct. Yeah, what is DDT? I don't know what that is. Yeah, we learned how to adapt and how powerful words are, and to be very careful around those parents. When my stepdad would come home, I learned to stay under the bed. Oh, he's home from work. Go hide. Wait for him to get home, be mad, and go chill out about it, and then go play in the woods. That was my game. Go play in the woods. Oh, the pesticide DDT. Okay, yeah, totally. Oh yeah, that was in everything. And their life affirming cigarettes. Was that before them? I think that was about their time. Nah, that might have been a little bit before them. That was their parents. Right, yeah. I don't need to Google that. I don't need to give myself more anxiety. I know. I mean, all the lead-based paints and everything, they were just loaded to the gills with fumes. Yeah, and it's unfortunate. Like, there's no going back and fixing that, right? Unfortunately, they are the ones leading our country now. Oh my gosh. Ugh. So, what about what's going on in Ukraine right now? I don't know. I'm trying to keep my head down. I think a lot of TikTokers are talking about it, and I think it's bullshit. I think that Putin's a. I don't know. This is a neuroscience channel. Ask questions about the brain. But if you want my opinion, I just think Putin's a piece of shit. And we should do something about it, but I'm not the guy to make that decision. What do you think about what's going on in Ukraine? Oh, yeah, asbestos for sure. Yeah, everywhere. Is the bestest. They put it in our cigarettes, our life affirming cigarettes. Brains of megalos? What are those? I don't know what that is. You mean like the MAGA people? Is that what you're referring to? No, I do not know about a man who died during an EEG. I imagine that's probably pretty rare. Tell me about it. You mean they took his brain waves as he was dying? Is that what it is? I see. Our lives really do flash before us. Scientists record the brain activity of an 87-year-old man the moment he died, revealing a rapid memory retrieval process. Yeah. Oh, I've talked about this lots of times. This is. I haven't read this, but this is like a pretty commonly understood thing. When, or I guess it's not understood. It's just something we've seen and a way to explain it. But what not everybody and not all animals, but a lot of animals right before they die go into this weird state where they just start kicking really hard. And people before they die, if you look at their brains, uh, you just have everything firing on all cylinders. And I think it's kind of a last shot attempt to just keep the body alive. Like your body kind of does this when you're sleeping. If you go into sleep paralysis, you go like way too deep. Um, Sometimes it jolts your head, and what ends up happening is your head like jolts at just the right angle. This is like a weird thing that humans have evolved with, but your head will jolt at just the right angle that your otoliths in your semicircular canals of your ears, which are responsible for balance, right? They tell you which way is up, will fly to the top very quickly. And I think it's at a rate of 10 meters per second or faster. And when it does that, that is the precise feeling of falling. And it's thought that the reason why humans have this mechanism is because we lived in trees a long time ago as primates. And when we were primates living in trees, we would fall asleep in trees. And so we needed to catch ourselves before we fell out of the tree, right? So if we fell asleep, we started falling out of the tree, we needed to wake up and catch ourselves. And we did this through this mechanism in the inner ear. Sometimes when you fall asleep, you undergo sleep paralysis, right? And sometimes your heart slows to a point where it's almost fatal. Like it could probably kill you. And your body goes, "Oh, wake up a little," right? And so you like kick, right? And usually you go right back to sleep. No big deal. Um, that's just kind of that process. Why was I talking about this? Sometimes I lose my train of thought. Um, oh, yes. So I think that when you are dying, some people undergo this process of like heightened activation because the body is just like, do anything you can to stay alive. Do whatever, fire everything, fire it all, just make something happen. And, either you'll survive it or you don't. And some people do. A lot of people do. Some people survive it for a very long time. um, but eventually you can't. Yeah. So, I mean, of course, some people in news articles that are not exactly accurate might talk about how this is probably rapid memory retrieval. But in reality, that person's brain is probably just doing everything it can to just make something happen. It looked like in this person, they had an acute subdural hematoma. So they had like swelling on their brain from the blood, the pressure of the blood. And as they were dying, that process started occurring. Yeah. But I imagine we've probably seen quite a few brain scans while people are dying by now. Megalomaniacs. Ah. So, um, I don't know. I don't know if a megalomaniac is diagnosable. I don't think that's in the DSM. But grandiosity is as a symptom.
Narcissistic personality in the DSM-5.
Oh, yes, right. Narcissistic personality disorder would probably be the closest thing. Right, because if you're obsessed with your own power, then you're obsessed with everything about yourself. That's very narcissistic, for sure. Um, when I think in terms of power, though, specifically, that makes me think of grandiosity. I think that's probably what led Kanye West and Eminem and probably a lot of other people to like get to that level. What part of the brain controls anger, aggression, and jealousy? Well, the fun thing about every emotion you just listed is that all of them are secondary emotions. None of them are primary, which means we're not born with them, which means we don't have the genes for them, which means that they have to be taught to us. However, they all stem from one emotion that is primary, that is innate, which is fear. When we are afraid, it can often manifest in strange ways. You'll notice that nobody is jealous without being afraid of something, right? What are you jealous of? Or what are you afraid of when you're jealous, right? If you're jealous, then you're afraid that you won't get whatever it is that you're jealous of. How come this guy gets to have this car? That lady gets to have that husband? How come this person gets to have that job and I don't, right? I am afraid I will never get these things. If you're angry, that's really just Anger is just fear redirected in a way that makes you feel like you have control of it when you don't. Um, but it can make some people feel powerful. That's why wrath is a big problem, right? Um, and aggression and anger are very much related to like aggressive behavior, because especially if you have two people that are afraid of one another, then they get angry at each other and then they start becoming aggressive towards one another. Although that doesn't necessarily need to be the dynamic. Sometimes a person can just be aggressive towards other individuals. When we say, where does this live in the brain, though, it's really hard to figure that out. We know that excitement in the brain requires at least one specific region, which is the amygdala, right? These little dots in there need to be present and activated in order to um, elicit an extreme response emotively. So, extreme fear, extreme happiness, because of extreme fear, also feelings of aggression. So, if you're like, where does that live in the brain? I would say, well, it doesn't like live anywhere in the brain, but that's where it probably starts. The other thing is that there are parts of the cortex, right, which encode memories, aspects of memory about whatever. And oftentimes, our aggression or our jealousy or our anger is rooted in the memory of something else, right? Um, so I would say that it probably is a pretty complex inner working of what's happening between the hippocampus, the cortex, the amygdala, and everything in between, in terms of recalling things that make you upset or facts about things that you're not really a fan of, right? Um, yeah. Baby boomers did have a lot of stuff happen. Megalodon. Yeah. Thanks for the roses. Near death experiences. Yeah. I would imagine that a lot of near death experiences are likely a person recovering from that. One common near death experience is that people describe everything being all black and there being nothing, and then they see stars. And then they just like whoosh towards a light, and then they sort of, the light surrounds them and they realize, oh shit, I'm in a hospital room, right? And they hear this whirring, rushing sound the whole time it happens. So to them, they experience flying through space, right? But if you think about what's really happening is all your neurons were shut off, except for the innermost neurons, which are still alive. Let me grab my brain. So your brain is very much, your whole body is very much built in such a way that the most important stuff is on the inside and the least important stuff is out here. My fingers are less important than my heart. So if I'm freezing to death, all my body heat is going to go towards my heart and leave my fingers. Then I'm going to get frostbite and lose my fingers, right? The brain works the same way. Say if you drink alcohol, right? It works from the prefrontal cortex back. And the reason why is because, believe it or not, your ability to make decisions is less important than your ability to beat your heart, right? But eventually, it'll make its way to your brainstem and your cerebellum. And when that happens, that's when you'll die. So when we're talking about a person who's experiencing that weird phenomenon where they feel like they're flying through space, they hear this whirring sound like air rushing by their head, and they see all the little stars. What we're really seeing is likely the whole cortex being almost entirely shut off. And so all the sensory information that they're receiving in their eyes and ears is not really going anywhere. And then when the brain was like shocking to revitalize them and wake them back up, you had little parts of the temporal lobe waking back up, which is what's causing that rushing sound, that air rushing, because your temporal cortex can't make sense of it. It's just, it's less resolute than it should be. So instead of hearing like tone differentiation, all you're hearing is right. That's it. Similarly, you're probably waking up some of the neurons in your occipital lobe, right in the back of your brain. And that's the first stop. That's where the V1 is, right? Oops, lost my cerebellum. That's where the V1 is. That's the first stop from the eyes to the brain, besides the thalamus, right? From the thalamus to the spot and the chiasm, optic chiasm. But so as you're waking up those neuronal connections, it's almost like your brain fell asleep, kind of like the way your leg could fall asleep, right? It's basically that's what's happening. And so your brain is waking back up. And then the big light you're rushing towards is actually you just coming into focus and realizing, your visual system like wakes back up. Oh, I'm in reality again, you know? So it's pretty scary to think you're like literally that close to death. Asocial. Yeah, you and your loud popcorn. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Yes. Epic quote, Dan Hartley. Thank you. Yakostyak. What's up? Hi, Joe. Hi, Yosef. How are you? Saw an article today about recording brain waves when a patient died. It was interesting. Yeah, I was just reading something about that. We were talking about that. Jimmy Crickets. It's good to have you. Yeah, if anybody is interested, I'm also live on YouTube at my channel Neural Jack. I need more subscribers, so feel free to hop over there and join me there. You can ask me questions here, and yeah, and hit the bells and the buttons and all the doohickeys and follow me and click the likes and smash the whatever's. Do the whole thing. Oh, my camera keeps adjusting and it's weird. Yeah, what article did you see? I was reading one about a 87-year-old man who apparently his brain was just doing all it could, doing the most, just trying to stay alive. I feel like if I'm gonna die and my life is gonna flash before my eyes, I just don't want it to be boring. I don't want to be like, damn, I'm really bored. I did nothing. What is up? Sit, boo boo, sit. How are you? What is your name, by the way? If I'm allowed to know. If not, I'll just call you Sit, boo boo, sit. Or maybe some short variant of that. How are you doing today? I'm quarantined up in the upstairs of my house, away from my wife, because I was exposed to COVID, and that sucks. Reward example at work. That's cool. How'd you use it? How'd it work? Did people like it? Also, what do you do for work? I'm excited to know. Is YouTube or TikTok ahead of the other? I have no idea. I know that YouTube is not lagging behind me very far. And I imagine TikTok also probably isn't. I don't know. Amber. Hi, Amber. That's okay. I probably don't have it. I got tested today. So we're just waiting to hear back. Um, Hopefully, I don't have it. That would suck. Is that noetic science? Make weird tech. That's cool. So, yeah, that does look cool. I don't know about metaphysics. I feel like I don't usually subscribe to that sort of stuff anymore, but uh, it's very important. Actually, this might even be important work for stuff that I'm interested in, which is the study of prosthetics. I feel like understanding how technology can be used to help better a person's human experience probably be pretty important for that. Um, yeah, you're a designer. What kind of things do you design? What kind of do you design, like new technologies or what? YouTube is a bit ahead. Okay. That's good. It's good to know YouTube's working good. Products, services, programs. Cool. Cool. Yeah, I'm thinking when I get my PhD, I'm gonna apply to Yale. I don't know if I'll get in. I really want to. I already work here, but that doesn't make it a shoe in. I am finding out Yale is even harder to get into than I originally thought, which I originally thought it was pretty damn hard. So there's that. But if I can do my PhD program here, I likely will see if I can work with a gentleman in Pennsylvania named Rory A. Cooper, who is like the top dog in prosthesis research. Um, I would really like to get into that. Partially, I would like to dedicate my life to making my wife an arm that's cool. But also, I want to help people that are missing limbs. You know, I want to help them in such a way that they have limbs that work like limbs, and not a limb that works like a hammer. Or something. It's just very rudimentary. But I think we're getting better. How close are we to cyborgs? I think we're getting pretty close. I don't think we'll have any cyborgs that can actually just like walk across the street for a really long time. Turns out those things are really difficult to replicate. But in terms of like a thing that can have a conversation with you, like we're pretty much there, you know. Philosophical stuff is a little bit more difficult, but if you just want to ask them about like day-to-day stuff. Yeah, define cyborg. Are you talking about like people who are modified with robotics, or are we just talking about straight robots? Direct neural interface with electronics. I don't know. I always joke that maybe I'll be the first Ripper doc, like Cyberpunk. I don't know. That would be really cool though. Or like that video game. What is it? Prey? Prey is a sweet game. I love that game. But yeah, they like stick the neuromod in your eye, All of a sudden you have a weird ability. That'd be fun. That makes limbs. You have to find her name. Okay. Find it and come back to me. Sophia the android. Okay, right on. Taught her unconditional love. It's hard for me to believe. I'm skeptical and therefore I want to see it. I want to see this. I did not. I don't think I saw your comment.
People want to see my current bionic arm.
Oh yeah, are people? I don't know why it didn't. TikTok didn't show me Harm's comment, but she's wondering if people.
TikTok censoring me again?
Yeah, TikTok's always censoring my badass wife. She wants to know if people want to see her current prosthetic.
Send them over to my videos.
Proto cyborgs. I mean, kinda. I guess. Electronics to augment. Yeah. You're right. Especially when people are using things like Google Glass. But I mean, like, we literally can't live without our phones anymore, right? So, I mean, technically. What am I doing for work right now? Well, right this moment, I'm actually just dicking around on YouTube and TikTok. But when I am working, I work in a pain research lab, a neuroscience lab at the Center for Neuroscience and Regeneration. which is at the Yale School of Medicine, or it's a part of the Yale School of Medicine, which is a large thing. I work in the VA hospital here in Connecticut, in West Haven. Lovingai.org. Okay. Dope. Thanks for that. Yeah, I want to know more. We're friends, aren't we? Yeah. Can you send me a message so I don't forget? I mean, I pulled it up on my computer, so hopefully I won't forget. But I do want to talk to you more about this. Maybe if you feel like it, if you're interested, maybe you can be on my podcast and talk about it. That'd be really cool because I've barely made any episodes, and I want to interview people, but I need to find people to interview. And also, you seem like the kind of person that maybe would want to. I don't know. Just mirroring emotion. That's fair. But I mean, to be fair, humans do that too, right? I mean, are we really that different? I know we feel like we are. Humans really feel like we're different. But are we? I don't know. Sure. Yeah. Let's see. Where's Harm's arm? Harm's arm. One sec. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm not going to show you. I can't. I don't know where it is. What I will tell you is that Full Metal Harmony is on this app. She's in the chat. You can go to her page here on TikTok. She's got lots of cool stuff. She makes like all sorts of content that is odd and wonderful in many different ways. She's very cute too. She's fun to watch. But yeah, so if you want to see her arm and the various ways that she modifies it, which are fun and frightening and interesting, go check her out. Patriot Cue Ball. I answered that question. Were you not here for that? Levita? Okay. Cool. Oh, yeah. Oh, these are cool. Wow. They make some really cool stuff. This is awesome. I don't know if Harm knows about this person, but I will definitely show them to Harm. Thanks for sharing that with me. Those are really cool. That's the kind of stuff I'd like to do. But I don't know. I'd like to make it less art and more functionality and also more interface. The whole thing I want to do is interface. Yeah. Horrifying. Oh, Harms. Yeah, the creepy eyeball couch. Yeah. Odd. Yes, odd is a good word to describe it. And wonderful. You missed the part where I said wonderful, apparently. But yeah, I like things that are odd, and I love you. Yeah, we do have our weird eyeball couch. We need to make more creepy stuff. I think she's got some stuff in the works. She seems to be very vague about things that she's planning. Oddly wonderful is correct. It's absolutely correct. But yeah, so thinking about the loving AI, right? If we're just teaching a robot to mirror emotion, How is that different from what kids learn to do with their faces as they're growing up when they're infants, right? Is it really that different? Maybe it is. I don't know. The brain's very complex, so it's hard to say. Yeah, it doesn't seem that different, does it? Well, I mean, because it's all about like mirror neurons, right, in the hippocampus. Although, okay, that process is completely different, right? Because the AI does not have a hippocampus. But in terms of like ones and zeros and patterns of firing, it's not super different. Yeah, it's like a different way of going about the same thing. It's like bat wings and bird wings, right? A little bit different, but it does the same thing basically. It works to perform the same function. That's what I should say. Also, for those who are new here, ask me about the brain, but also check out my YouTube, Neural Jack. Go subscribe. If you want to hang out with me there, I do my Friday night lives there, which I'll be doing tomorrow. And I need more subscribers. I want to monetize eventually. I already grew to, in like 1 week, I've grown to 23 subscribers. I have more material I'm working on right now, trying to make. But I need more people so that I can make more stuff. I want to dedicate more time to this. I hope to use that type of robot to comfort dying and sick people. Don't ask me about aliens. Actually, you can if you want. I'll talk about it. What do you want to know about aliens? I am one. Always have been. Mars Attacks. That was a documentary about me and my family. Yeah, I don't know if I'd use them to comfort dying and sick people. Like maybe. They're interesting. The novelty is there. As a gimmick, they'd be interesting enough. But if you're dying and you're talking to a robot, I feel like it would start to feel disingenuine, I guess. I don't know. Especially if you're elderly. I don't think that would work so much for the elderly. Maybe it would, though. I don't know. Maybe you could put AI. Here's another idea: is instead of having like a humanoid AI, maybe you can make an AI that's a little cuter, like maybe like a cat. You know what I mean? Little kitty that talks to you, hangs out. You know, old ladies love kitties. Make a little AI kitty for this little old lady who's probably going to die someday. You know, kitty can hang out with her and feed her information that Facebook is giving it. Basically, organic logic gates, ifs and thens. Kind of, kind of. We're a little more complicated than that. We're very much like digital converted to analog. You know what I mean? Like, uh, we're all ones and zeros. Either the neuron fired or it didn't, right? But then also at what rate is it firing? And then, we kind of have like a better resolution that way. What does the pattern look like? Yeah, good idea. Hey, what do you want me to talk about next week? Or what do you want me to talk about tomorrow? Head over to Neural Jack and comment. And tell me what you like about my videos. Tell me what you don't like. I'm open to feedback, constructive criticism. If you just want to be there to like tell me I'm dumb, do it. I'll delete it. But hey, I appreciate the interaction. You think it's a great idea? Good. Okay, so when you do it, make sure you credit me, and also I get my cut. Make an AI butler. That'd be dope. I'd want a AI butler that is actually like a dog that fights crime. I think that'd be cool. Like if somebody could convert Hong Kong Fooey into an AI dog that I could hang out with. I think it'd be cool to build an AI that is an arm and then give it to my wife so that she has her arm she can talk to. Maybe she could be like, hey, arm, go make coffee, and just like set it off on its own. And just crawl across the floor. I feel like I would. Now we're entering into nightmare territory. I should probably slow down. I have good ideas, and then I have these ideas. Just got the test. Now time to go home and order some food. Yeah, what are you going to have? And also, good luck. I hope you fail your test. An AI that can assist your case in court. For sure. That would be very helpful. Also, one device that I wanted to work on but then got lazy was an AI medic bot. I thought, and then I realized it would be too hard to just have a robot scan you and be like, here's how to treat you, and now I'm going to do it. It's too much. But for field medics, it would be one thing if you had like a field medic who was like, oh, I have to attend to these 3 people that are dying, right? This guy needs stitches like now, and pulls out a little like robot, right? Like a spider or something, and sets it on their skin. It can scan the area, clamp down, and just stitch it shut. Maybe not the prettiest job. It'll be like as precise as a robot can do, though. So that's like pretty cool. But I mean, that would be a useful thing to carry around with you in case you get hurt, and don't know how to stitch yourself up. An AI cat named Jack. Awesome. Jacko cat. Wishbone. Yeah. Go gadget arm. Oh, but what I'm picturing is so much more creepy. Go gadget arm, and then it just like pops off and scampers across the floor. AI can definitely be used to push forward humanity. Unfortunately, AI is already implemented to sort of manipulate humanity because that's just what people do. Thanks, capitalism. Yes, Joe, like Cousin It. That is exactly what I'm talking about. But like robotic, like cyberpunk Cousin It. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Joe just said that. Yeah, the hand from Adam's Family. God, I love the Adams Family so much. I'm definitely the Gomez to my wife's Morticia. I'm very much like Gomez. And it sucks too because I'm quarantined. I'm upstairs. I've been upstairs for like 2 days. I can't go downstairs. It's just so irritating because I just want to hug my freaking wife. Goes like usual, fail and retake it in 3 weeks. That's how college went for me? I'm just kidding. Seems plausible. What does the stitching robot? I think I could build it. I literally think I could build that with what I have at home right now. I should just do it and then see if anybody wants to buy it. It's probably a terrible idea, but I mean, even if other people perfected on it. Oh, right. The hand's name is Thing. Cousin It's the hairy thing. Cousin It is the guy with all the hair and the glasses, and little hat. AI can receive authorized actions from a doctor that could work a medic bot. True. We do have stuff like that allows surgeons to do precise surgery. That's the problem, though, is you can't really be precise in certain areas where you need a human. You know, something that humans are really good at that you wouldn't think would be that hard to replicate, but is almost impossible to do in robots, is literally just stepping off of a curb and paying attention to cars driving by and then walking safely across the street and then stepping up onto the next curb. It's so hard to get a robot to be able to do that. But we do it without even thinking, right? And so there's like instances where you're like, man, this would be so much better if you could get this robot to run into the field and help this guy, right? Like, say if they're in war and this guy goes down, and you're like, well, I don't want to send a medic in because then the medic could get shot. Let's just, send this robot in and have the medic guide it. But the thing is, the robot cannot move with the same dexterity as a human can, right? And maybe it can be really precise, but it's really hard to translate the human's version of precision into a robot's precision, right? And then they become sentient, and Skynet will use them to hunt us. For anybody who doesn't know, Skynet is a real company. They're owned by China. They named their company Skynet after the bad guy from Terminator. What they do is facial recognition to a degree that is insane and amoral. Uh, and they argue that they should be the only ones allowed to do it because if it was put in the wrong hands, terrible things could happen. And I'm talking about being able to immediately recognize your face from a street light as you're like passing under a street light, and it has that camera identifying your face and sending that information to them so that they know where you're at all times. Like they're trying to do that. And they have probably succeeded in some places, but it's really funny that they should happen to name their company after Skynet. It's such a horrible idea, and then argue that they're going to be the ones doing it for the good of humanity. It's like, no, nobody needs to be doing that at all, let alone you, or like fucking Zuckerberg doing his metaverse, right? Like, you realize that you're naming your company after something horrible, right? Like, that has connotations to it. Rocco's Basilisk? I don't know what that is. A thought experiment proposed in 2010 by the user Rocco on the Less Wrong community blog Decision Theory to argue that a sufficiently powerful AI agent would have an incentive to torture anyone who imagined the agent but didn't work to bring the agent into existence. Oh, you know what that makes me think of? Have you ever read the short story, I Have No Mouth, Yet I Must Scream? Or I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, or something like that? It's a really creepy short story. If you haven't read it, go read it. It's messed up. Or don't read it and live the rest of your life just fine, having not read it. And probably don't be tormented like I am. Cousin It, the Harry character, yeah. Beauty of AI is it's incorruptible. You could learn from it. I don't agree with that. I think AI is definitely corruptible. For one thing, it's corruptible by the right human to corrupt it. And then for another thing, it's corruptible by itself if we make it smart enough to go start teaching itself, but not. The problem is that AI, I don't know, it's kind of like a human that, it's kind of like a human that can't understand common sense or context, right? Humans need to be able to, and there are plenty of humans that are like that, right? But humans, for the most part, need to understand some concept of context. We have to understand that certain things only work under certain parameters, right? And robots are very much do exactly what you've given me to do. And although it may look good at first, if you just wildly send this thing off to go do it, who's to say it doesn't pick up on 1.5 million other things that we did not foresee it picking up on, and just teaching itself a bunch of weird, I don't know. I'd have to think of like a good example. I don't know. Right. And very biased. It's always biased, right? There's no chance it won't be. Probably the least biased thing in the world is a calculator, just a basic calculator. And even then, that thing's biased by the operator. You know what I mean? Everything is biased by the operator who creates it. Everything is biased by motive. Talk about the brain's regenerative properties. They're amazing. Let's see. And also shitty in different ways. It depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about regenerative, so I'm assuming damage is occurring. You are Morticia, but also the thing. Yes, that's an accurate way to describe my wife. Lots of hair, lots of beauty, lots of black, dark, spooky goodness. She's a wonderful lady. Um, So when we're talking about regeneration, typically we're talking about some sort of damage. Damage can be done a number of ways, but that damage will either be severe enough to kill neurons or not severe enough, but it damages them. And if the neurons can be repaired, then they will be, but they may not function as well. If the damage is done to a brain of a human who is young, very young, they're likely to recover from that damage because they're still undergoing different processes of pruning and just, I don't know how to explain it. When we're very young, we're rapidly growing new connections, tons and tons of new connections. And then as we get a little bit older, around like 7 or 8 years old, we start cutting connections that are unnecessary. If you get damage to the brain before this, and it's not sufficient enough to kill you, chances are you can actually recover from it because during the pruning process and through synaptic plasticity, your brain figures out ways around the lesion, right? That lesion could be a bruise, could be a tumor, could be an actual lesion like a cut. But whatever it is that's causing this disruption in neuronal communication can be circumvented through the use of other neuronal pathways. And it depends, right? Like if you lose your eyesight completely, so you lose your eyes, you're not going to be receiving any visual information to your occipital lobe. So instead, if you're not getting any information to your occipital lobe, your parietal information starts to sneak down into the occipital lobe, and your temporal information seems to sneak back into the occipital lobe. And suddenly that thing's being used for your ability to feel and your ability to hear, right? So that's a pretty common trope that turns out to be kind of true, is that people who are blind can hear really well. It's because they have more cortical representation to work with. They can also feel like things like vibration, and they can feel things on their body more precisely, also because that cortex is being taken up in that same rate. As you get older and you experience a traumatic brain injury or spinal cord injury, you are much less likely to recover fully. And the older you get, the harder it will be for you to recover. Not to say you can't recover fully. It will take longer and it may not be possible. If neurons die, we do know that they do not come back. So that's one thing. If you kill off some neurons, they are dead. They are not coming back. There are neurons in the hippocampus and in the olfactory system which do show neurogenesis, which means that they produce new neurons. This likely has to do with the memory component to them, because these are both structures that are heavily implicated in memory formation. So it makes sense that you have to grow new neurons for the specific areas of the brain that are directing where information should go and be stored. But other than that, if you break it, it's gone. If you break it completely and it dies, it's gone. Sometimes it can be repaired. Yeah. But I mean, we're working towards stuff every day, trying to fix that. How do we, I forget who it was, but somebody recently published an article about repairing spinal cord damage in mice and how we might be able to start doing that for humans soon, which is pretty cool. Imagine curing someone's paralysis. That would be pretty dope. They were able to do that in mice. So hopefully we'll be able to do that in humans someday soon. Make it. I forgot what to make. I literally just yammered on about nothing for so long. "3D mapping surveillance is definitely coming next. It's probably already here. It just isn't very good, but I bet you they're working on it. I had a stepdad for a lot of years who was an E8 in the military, and he was in the Army and the Air Force, and he also was a sniper, and then he became a Green Beret. Maybe he was a sniper while he was a Green Beret. I can't remember. But anyway, for those who don't know, Green Beret is like the Army's like special ops back then. He was like top of the top. And he was also a tech guy, tech nerd. He actually was on a team that first developed the plasma screen television back in the 70s, right? And we did not get plasma TVs in our homes until the year 2000. And I remember because I remember when we first got our first plasma screen television in 2000, watching Futurama premiere, right? I remember talking to him about it, and he was like talking about what a big deal it was that we had those in our house now. And I was a little kid at the time. I must have been 10 years old or something. 9, 10 years old, something. And he was talking about it, and he said, you know, 30 years ago, I worked on this TV, and we had this in the military. And I was like, wow, really? Why are we only just getting it now? And he's like, that's the way the world works. And he said, I want you to think of the craziest, wildest technological advancement that you can think of. And I want you to know that there are people who have outthought that by 40 years. And that's what the government has access to now. He's like, whatever you can think of, just conceive of, the government's already 40 years ahead of that. And then you come across companies like DARPA. Sure enough, they do the wildest shit. Minority Report shit, yeah. I don't really spend a lot of time in New Haven, but this area is okay. The driving sucks. People do not know how to drive on the East Coast. It's insane how bad people are at driving here. But other than that, it's been pretty fun. It's been pretty cool. Lots of sights to see. It's weird being on the East Coast instead of the West Coast. Man, I really thought people were bad drivers on the West Coast. Dude, it does not. It pales in comparison here. People do not know how to drive here. It's so scary. I know what you meant, Katie. Stay away from AI that can arrest people because Rich would pay to remain off the list. Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole idea of policing is a racist concept. It was formed out of racism, literally born out of racism. The whole reason we have policing is because of racism. And if we did not have racism, we wouldn't have policing, right? The police were invented to catch slaves. Police were invented to catch slaves. You know what that means? That means the most racist people are in control of the police at that time. If the most racist people are in control of the police at that time, what do you think happens when they pass the reins down to their children, who they have also taught to be racist, right? And systematically, through decades and decades and generations, you find the torch being passed on to more systematic oppressors, right? Who are often the same family members of the people who started the damn thing. And then, in the meantime, you have, some gal or some guy who really thinks that they can make a difference in the police force. And so they join because they have good intentions. And the moment they act like a good cop, they get kicked out. All of a sudden they get written up for nothing, fired for nothing, bullied. Sometimes really bad things happen to them. Sometimes accidents happen to them. But systematically, the police industry seeks out people that are going to do the oppressive thing. Get with the program. We're a brotherhood, and you better do what we say. So that's what basically they're like the legal KKK, like honestly. And either get with the program or get out. That's it. Those are the only options. Yeah, AI will never be flawless. And the reason why is because actually this isn't the only reason, but the major reason why is because we will never be flawless. And you can't expect something that is full of flaws to create something flawless. That will never happen. There will always be flaws in everything we do, and that's why we will constantly always be steadily advancing everything that we do. Always room for improvement, right? AI AI should implement. Sorry, it's hard to read the text because of my white shirt. AI should implement lie detectors and DSM-4 and 5 to understand people. I don't know about that. Lie detectors are really hard to implement because they're not accurate in a lot of people. It's hard to detect lies. You have to really, really know somebody to be able to detect lies. You might be able to have like some sort of machine learning watch that person for a really long time and come to understand them. Say, I don't know, just watch their emotions and like really come to understand them. Then maybe the computer can pick out when this person's facial expressions are not coherent with their emotions, right? You might be able to do it that way, but until then, and then also the problem with the DSM-4 and the DSM-5 is that they're both outdated. The DSM-4 is heavily outdated, and the DSM-5 is already. Oh, it feels like the DSM-5 is new to me, but it's not. That was 2013 that came out. I'm old. Anyway, the DSM-5 is already being updated right now, right? Like pretty soon we're gonna have like I don't know. It'll either be an updated DSM-5 or it might even be the DSM-6. I don't know. How bad is boxing on the brain? If you're real safe with your head, it's not too bad. But the problem is that if you're not wearing like protective headgear, your brain is the consistency of room temperature butter, bouncing around inside of a hard skull. Granted, you have cerebrospinal fluid and the meninges to try to like protect your brain, but honestly, if you're the kind of person who's like a good thinker, you probably should not be doing sports that involve you getting punched in the head. That being said, if you are wearing protective gear, obviously you'll be a little more protected. But yeah, you can only take so many knocks to the head before issues arise, especially if you're receiving concussions. People who get concussions, right? People who are concussed, um, the first time they're probably okay. Second time, it's a little bit worse, but probably okay. After about the third, fourth, fifth time, sixth time, you start to see neuronal degradation, which is like bruising in the brain, and then it starts to just start dying over time, slowly. So you may not even see it for years. But one day you'll notice that your cognition is just has sort of devolved with time, and you'll go, man, it's really weird. Like I feel like my brain used to be so much more productive. Now I just have such a hard time thinking, right? And then you go get your brain scanned and they find out, oh yeah, you have this really dark spot on your brain where a bunch of shit has just been dying because you've been concussed so many times, which often leads people to become very uh, different, sometimes scary different. Just be very careful, is all I'm going to say. Calculator is biased about boobs. Same. What's up, Kimsta? Rapid cell growth. I forgot what I was talking about. When did I talk about rapid cell growth? Only be used to push forward our learning capacity and solving methods. I'm not going to say that it should only be used for anything, but yeah, that's definitely one of the uses we can use it for. Thanks. Yeah. I think I got this with Harmony, didn't I? We got this at the mall in Eugene, Oregon. He can feel minor earthquakes far away. Um, People are all different. Some people can hear mice talking. Mice squeak audibly. Sure, they like squeak, but they also talk, and most people can't hear them talk. I can hear them talk in my left ear, and I know some people who can just hear them talking. It's really annoying, but or for me, it's really annoying. But it stands to reason that most natural things fit on a curve, right? So we're on a curve. In the middle of that curve is where most people are, but you're always going to have people out on the tail ends. Not very many, but there are people who are way out there. Even though there's not very many, there are always people who are way out there. So you'll have that one person who feels the normal, most people feel the normal range of vibrations. You'll have that one person who can't feel any vibrations for whatever reason. And then you'll have that other person on the other tail end that can feel even the tiniest vibrations, right? So I don't know. It's not totally out of the realm of reason that somebody can do that, in my thinking. Replicated deja vu in a lab. How does the brain create deja vu? There's different theories about how the brain is creating deja vu. I think the most common or the most accepted theory of deja vu has to do with Baddeley's model of working memory. So I'll just pull that up really quick and show you. Sorry, YouTube, that I can't show you, but for those on TikTok, YouTube will get to watch me point my phone at the computer for some weird reason. Let's see. So okay, let me show you this. Oh, well, I can't do that because. Okay, I guess you can't do that with green screen. So sorry. I'll just talk about it. So you have kind of 4 different types of memory working right here. So the first type of memory is your sensory memory, according to Baddeley's model. So you have your sensory memory, which is taking in everything about your external environment all at once. You're just getting reamed with a ton of just sensory data, right? Whatever you're seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, all of it's just coming at you at once. And this memory lasts not even a second, maybe a couple seconds at most. And then you forget it because it's constantly being updated with new information, right? But the moment you decide to pay attention to something, you then throw it into your short-term memory, which is oftentimes used interchangeably with working memory, but they're not the same thing. So your short-term memory, once you've decided to focus on a thing, hangs on to that object for about 20 seconds at most, and then it starts to lose the object. During that 20 seconds, you have to determine whether or not this information is important to remember and consolidate. If it is, we got to throw it into our long-term memory, and if it isn't, we throw it away. We just discard it. If it is important, then we throw it into our long-term memory. Then we have what is called, my tummy's growling, and then we have what is called working memory, right? Which is often used interchangeably with short-term memory. They're not the same thing. Working memory occurs during the short-term memory process. So when you've decided, you get the sensory memory, all this information is coming at you, and then you decide to focus on one thing. It goes into your short-term memory, and then working memory comes into play. And what working memory is doing is several things. One thing it could be doing is you might be repeating the information back to yourself to hang on to it longer. Another thing you could be doing is using your visuospatial, that's called a phonological loop, by the way, when you're repeating something back to yourself. Phonological loop. If you're also using your visuospatial sketchpad, which means you're visualizing in 3-dimensional space how this thing exists, right? You're using your visuospatial sketchpad. And then you're also pulling information from your long-term memory into your short-term memory. So these 3 things going on together with your short-term memory are together called your working memory. Okay. So what can I pull from my long-term memory that relates to what I'm experiencing now? Have I ever experienced this before? How do I, relate this to my previous experience? Also, using my visuospatial sketchpad, what does this look like? And using my phonological loop, how do I encode semantics about this knowledge? And then you crush it all together, consolidate it, compile it, and you go, okay, now I need to consolidate it. I'm going to update my old information and put it back into long-term memory. Okay. Sorry for this really long explanation, but that's how we form new memory according to Baddeley. It's a pretty good model. It's still being accepted today. It's a great model. But when we talk about deja vu, what is thought to be happening is if you don't have, this is my best understanding of it, if you experience a novel event you have no experience of, and it goes into your short-term memory, your instinct, your brain's instinct is to pull from your long-term memory. But on some occasions, usually from people who have experienced head trauma, so there's probably some sort of evolutionarily derived catastrophic tool to survival, right? That is encoded here. But some people actually consolidate the information with their working memory faster than they can pull their previous information from their long-term memory. So on rare occasion, you bring in the information and consolidate it immediately. And then while your brain is trying to pull things from your long-term memory that are related, it accidentally pulls the exact information that you're living right now. And because in your experience, the entire time you've been alive, the only time you pull things from long-term memory is when they happened a long time ago, it now feels like this memory that you've just had came from a long time ago, but it didn't. You actually immediately encoded it and then retrieved it, right? And it's just a really weird phenomenon because it doesn't occur naturally, not normally, right? So it's like it's not the typical thing to happen, so it feels very weird when it happens. And I think that's a great explanation. I really like that explanation. I feel like it's pretty solid. A wild harmony appears. Can you improve neuroplasticity? Apparently, through ingesting uh, lion's mane fungus is one way. You can also play brain games. Make sure that you are doing different things every day, learning different things all the time, taking an interest in other people, have lots of friends, change your environment up every now and again, move the furniture around. You want to live in an enriched environment. Lots of friends, lots of different kinds of food. Move your environment around. Everything's like a puzzle, and you're learning new things, playing new games, always doing something different. Horseback riding that helped with spinal injury. I don't know how that would help, but I would like to learn more. Wish you could make your back stop hurting. Same. My back's been hurting since I was 7 years old. Yeah, and I have never gotten it to stop. I totally feel that. Yeah, but hopefully soon. Hopefully we can start making progress. That's actually like literally what my research is for. If bone marrow was further looked into, I think the reset is fat and bone marrow. Yeah, I'm not sure. How riding horses helped heal the spine injury. I don't know how that would happen. Time travel. What about it? We're all doing it right now, moving forward. Wait till you go to Florida. Nah, I'm never going back to Florida. I'm done with that place. Hi, Heather. What's up? It's good to see you. It's Mom. Mom's here. Love you, Mom.
Mom's in Texas.
Mom's in Tejas. What are you doing in Tejas?
They're driving my grandma down to her new home.
Oh, that's right. Got to move Grandma along. Oh, I got an email. What is it?
Oh,
Oh, I got my results.
you did?
I think so. Oh, are we going to find out if I have COVID? All right, well, I'll find out together. Hopefully, this isn't super depressing. What's my name again? Too many TBIs for me. Um, okay. Collected. Da 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 da. Authorizing. Da 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 da. Negative. Status is negative. I don't have COVID. I'm cured forever. And now I'm going to go out and spit in everybody's face. Hell yeah. I ain't COVID, and so can you. You can put that on a shirt. Say that I said it. I said it first. You heard it here first, folks. I ain't COVID, and so can you. Moving G to Austin. Austin's a cool place, I've heard. I think I'm actually going to. Oh, no, I'm going to Dallas later this year. I have to go present at the PVA, Paralyzed Veterans of America. I don't have to. I get to, and it's going to be an honor. I'm just not super excited to go to Dallas because it's a big city, and I just am not a big city boy. I like my little country living. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. Yeah, I love seeing new people here too. Is it Maddie or Maddie82? Let me know if I'm saying your name wrong. If it's Matt Hay or something. Inmates in jail are way kinder than cops across the board. They're psychopaths for sure. I know I'm like way behind in the chat. Sorry. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. And most people who are in jail or in prison do not belong there. We have horribly abused this system in the United States. But I mean, that's the whole point of keeping slaves, right? Because that's written into our Constitution. We're not allowed to have slaves unless we imprison them. Hence why a ton of the prison population is black. We did not get rid of slavery. We just changed how it looked. We didn't get rid of slavery. We just changed how it looked. This is not neuroscience. Welcome to my channel. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing anymore. Anyway, it irritates me to no end. Oh, speaking of which, hey, I got my DNA results back.
Oh yeah.
Financial punishment, like fines for people, are also discrimination. You are absolutely 100% right, Rudy. That's the whole point. So, white people are a made up concept by white people who call themselves white people. Black people are a made up concept by white people who called themselves white and decided that black people were black, right? And now, because of that, white people are a thing and black people are a thing. But who are white people? Well, that's evolved, that's changed. You want to know more? Read about critical race theory. I have the third edition. It's an awesome book, but I'll give you like a really dumb version of it because I can only paraphrase. But essentially, white people called themselves white and then gave themselves all the purpose. And then they called a certain demographic black and then said that they were less and that they were meant to be servile. And who was white and who was black was completely arbitrary. It's like, well, if this person's Asian, are they white or black? Well, it kind of depends. During this year's, they're black. During this year's, they're white, right? Then they got grouped into their own group. What about Hispanics? Well, it depends. What about Native Americans? Well, it depends. During this, most of the time, they're treated like black people. Sometimes I guess they might be white, but not really. They're their own group. And eventually, Asian people and like Chinese and Japanese people became their own groups. Eventually, indigenous people became their own groups, and eventually, Hispanics became their own groups. But it's not really much different. They still get treated like black people, except that black people get treated worse than everybody else. And this is absolutely arbitrary. But then the new black people, I would argue, are just poor people. Like really, our country just is built to harm poor people. And one sec, sorry. Anyway, the thing is okay, fine. Now we're hurting everybody equally as long as they're poor. But the problem is we're not actually hurting anyone equally because the majority of poor people are already in the black community because for decades and decades and decades and decades and decades and decades, their family members have been systematically shoved down to the very bottom. So, yeah, okay, all poor people are affected, but the problem is that black people are disproportionately affected because they're disproportionately poor. And what's even worse about all of this is that their families have probably done the most work in our country to build our country. So, you have maybe people that nobody should be poor, but maybe you have people that should be poor because they don't work hard enough. That's definitely not black people, right? Their families literally built this country, but they don't get any of the benefit. And they're actively thrown into slavery through the prison system and the education to prison pipeline because our schools suck and our schools are meant to suck for that reason. It's so that they can quickly end up in prison so that they can be enslaved and start making things for free for the government. That's how our country works. It's garbage and needs to be redone. Lie detector just measures your heart rate. That's actually not true. They do measure your heart rate, your pulse. They also measure your skin conductance because people tend to sweat more when they're lying. They're very faulty. But yeah, there's your database. Yeah. Well, and police officers are known for faulty methods. They purposefully use that shit, right? The more the merrier. Gazing studies plus AI could create some decent lie detectors. Yeah, I think, and then also with machine learning and micro expression detection, like you can train humans to detect micro expressions. You can definitely train Deep Lab Cut to detect it better than you can detect it. I would argue that's a good way to go. But then you still never know, though. Room temperature butters your memoir. Right, football players, exactly. Yeah, sorry. I don't know. It's like a rave. When I was 11, I was headbutted and had mild bleeding on the brain. Concussion so bad. Oof. Kids do grow through injury. Oh, yeah, we got it from Hot Topic. The place that raised me as a little wee angsty lad. Yeah, please check out my channel, Neuraljack, on YouTube. Subscribe. I need more subscribers. That way I can eventually monetize and hopefully make better content. I'd like to, because I have to edit my own videos. It takes me forever. I do have a job, I would like to actually send stuff off to a professional editor, someone whose job it is. Maybe I'll teach Katie and pay her to do it. Question for harm too. Where do sayings like ears are burning, someone's talking about you come from? Ooh, I don't know. If I were to answer that from a neurological perspective, I would say that people are very predictable in cycles. And so if you know a person really well, you're likely to talk about them right as they're thinking about you. So I think weird somato psychological things can happen there. Never remember names and faces. Yeah. Well, this isn't triggering. Oh, sorry, Lauren. Yeah, maybe we could talk about that on a podcast episode or something. Yeah, we can explain Deja Vu. Kind of. I mean, it's a good explanation. I don't know if it's true, but it's the best we've got using Baddeley's models so far. Carnivore diet, huh? Yeah. Sorry, I'm like way back in the chat. Yes, that's the purpose of prisons being privatized, is so that they can be made for profit, right? Prisons are, it's slave labor. You got your DNA results too, Katie. We get to compare. I found out that I'm like 2 to 3% black. What's up? Just kidding. Some form of West African, I guess, and North African. I'm not really sure. And then a little bit of like Egypt is in there, or something close to Egypt. And then I found out I'm quite a bit like Spanish speaking countries, right? So like a little bit Spanish, a little bit Portugal, a little bit that other country that's just north of Spain, but all in the same like chunk of land. And then I have a good chunk is indigenous Mexican, which I already knew about. That was like the one I did know about. I didn't know about the rest. And then I found out something crazy. I thought that there was Irish in my family. Turns out I'm like 3% Irish. Of course, we all know that these DNA tests are kind of bullshit anyway, but like if we're going to have fun with it, have fun with it. I found out I'm only like 3% Irish. I actually happen to be like 30% Scottish. So I'm like, wow, I've never heard of anybody in my family being Scottish, but I guess Ireland and Scotland are pretty close there. So I don't know. Maybe it's like Scottish DNA, but living in Ireland. I don't know. Also a tiny bit of Wales and Dutch or something, Welsh. So just like some Norse stuff, right, in that area, Denmark and things like that, a little bit. And then what was the other one? Oh, yeah, the majority of it was just the European. I don't know. Yeah, pretty good mix though. I don't know. We're not supposed to be doing DNA stuff, but Harm and I were interested to find out about my weird genetics because I'm definitely a strange looking guy for sure. Won't let you get texts. Weird. Yeah, Washington D.C. was designed by a black man. I don't doubt that. I believe a lot of things were designed by black men and women, and then white people took credit for them. In fact, there are a shitload of examples where a black person does something and nobody cares because a black person did it, and then a white person does it like 5 years later, and everybody's like, "This is the pinnacle of mankind." You're like, "Yeah, but what about that other dude that did this like 5 years ago and better?" And it was interesting then. Those who do the most speak the least. Those who speak the most do the least. Damn, I talk a lot. I gotta go think about things for a while now. Does gut serotonin pass the blood-brain barrier or not? I hear so many conflicting things. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. There is gut serotonin, there is brain serotonin, and their processes can mediate one another, but serotonin does not cross the brain from the gut. It has to be produced in the gut, and serotonin in the brain has to be produced in the brain. I hope that clears things up for you. Is it Phlebos? Oh, thanks for the claps. I don't know what you're clapping about. Wonder if sociopaths pass lie detector tests easier because they lack empathy. They absolutely do. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why they can sort of trick their body not to sweat. It's because they don't feel fear or regret when they lie. It's not the wrong term. That's the right term. 20 hours to edit the last video. Jeez. Yeah, it took me quite a while too. What am I learning? Katie, I want to know your DNA really bad because you have some weird shit going on in your history. Robots can't break outside is programming and purpose, but people can. It's free will. Yeah, I don't know that people actually can. We may not even have free will. We might not even be that much superior to robots. I may have to take a quick break. I do want to keep talking, but I need to take a quick break. My eyes are getting like weird. I will be right back. I'm gonna go use the restroom, grab some water. It'll be like maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes. I don't know. Won't be long, but I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Quarantined. Even though my test was negative, but I don't know. I'm still being careful. Why not? Is that like star or planets that orbit each other and then break off? Pulse the same? I don't know. Maybe. Hippotherapy. Okay. I'll have to look into that. I don't know. That with spinal cord injuries, that seems like it'd be kind of dangerous to practice. You have to be very careful. What's the new podcast called? It's Neural Jack. Yeah, go find it. There's a couple episodes. Going to be more soon. Good for dementia, yeah. Mind emulation is on hold. Well, sorry to hear that, but that's good. You're taking the time for yourself. Egypt is a part of North Africa, yeah. Every day you feel disconnected with reality, with the deal with anxiety help. Oh, I cannot give you medical advice. If you're still here, I don't know. You might have taken off when I went to take a quick break. So I'll tell you this. When you are feeling disconnected from reality, the very first thing that you should tell yourself, I really hope you're still here. The very first thing you should tell yourself is that you are, in fact, here and you are real and that you are okay. We're here. Maybe you're not okay, but you are real and you are here. Okay? What you are experiencing is real. The next thing is it's good to practice mindfulness. um, being aware of your surroundings. You know, especially with anxiety, a lot of people do this thing where they're like, what are 5 things you can hear? What are 5 things that you can see? What are 4 things that you can um, smell or something like that, right? You're getting in tune with your senses. Maybe tap your fingers. That's what I do. I tap my fingers in different patterns, which I think is maybe a little bit closely related to EMDR. But um, what I'm doing is I'm grounding myself. I'm here feeling my physical presence and I'm recognizing it. That's the best way to get out of the dissociative feelings, right? When you feel like you're disconnected from reality. It doesn't work instantly. There is nothing that works instantly, and it doesn't always work either. But it's the thing that I think works the best. And with practice, you just keep breathing, do your 4 squared breathing. Some people like the 4 square. There's different variations of it, but focusing on your breath, right? And being here is what you can do in the meantime. And it's not perfect. If you get really good at it, shoot, maybe your anxiety will go away. But if you're like most people or like myself, it may not go away. It might help a little bit in the moment. You should probably go and see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, or like I do, both, right? Um, and have professionals tell you what they think you should maybe consider trying so that it doesn't impact your quality of life in such a negative manner. That's what I would do. But again, this isn't medical advice. This is just some kind words from a friend. That's all I can do. I hope you're all right. Get a kilt? Scottish. I do need a kilt. A kilt would be badass. Maybe I'll do that. Just fucking embrace it. I did the Ancestry one. Bagpipe Jack. Jeez. Neighbor's dogs are squawking. Yeah, a genetically Scottish Irishman. It was very interesting to see, for sure. You're welcome, Flevos. Cause an existential crisis. Yeah. Oh, those words. Those words alone do it. Bye. Yeah, check out the podcast. If you have ideas for episodes, come find me on YouTube and type them in the comments. If there's stuff you'd like me to talk about, I'm talking to Ember, but this is also for everybody here. If there's something that you specifically want me to talk about, find any one of my videos on YouTube and comment on it. I'm responding to all of them for as long as I can until it grows too big. Hi, not to be one. How are you? What's up, Sambrosia? Long time no see. And M. Castro. Wow, a lot of people just showed up all at once. Hi. Welcome, everybody. Much love. It feels like it's been a while since I've seen any of you. If you don't know, I have a YouTube channel, Neural Jack. Come check it out and subscribe. I need more people. And I'm also live there right now. Add to the YouTube views. Oh, thanks. Yeah. That's okay. You can be quiet. I'm the one talking. But yeah. Oliver Sacks. What about him? Some mindfulness techniques on YouTube that might be helpful. Maybe I should do some of that on my channel. Kind of take people through some meditation. People like my voice. I can take you through some meditation. Done a lot of it over the years. But yeah, Ember, what about Oliver Sacks? He's dope as fuck. That's what I know. Should we talk about him? I put up a video on YouTube, and it's a brief history of behavioral neuroscience, and then I gave Oliver Sacks an honorable mention at the very end. He got his own little snippet. You want me to talk about him? Okay, let me think for a second, and I'll talk about some of his cases. I don't know if they can ask questions in my Q&A. I didn't even know. Does YouTube have a Q&A feature? If it does, I'll turn it on. Feel free to ask questions. What are my thoughts on what's happening in Ukraine? Well, I'll talk about Oliver Sacks here in just a second. Quickly, I will say what's happening in Ukraine sucks. I can't imagine anybody could agree with it. And yet I know for a fact that there are people on this planet that do. And like our ex-president, oh boy, he like really thought Putin was the shit, you know, and I'm just so disappointed in so many people. That's all I can say about that. I know, yeah, the green screen's fucking up the green screen feature. Maybe I should just take it down. He did so much. Oliver Sacks did do a lot. Let me think. He did so much for real. He did a lot of work towards. Hey, you know, if the green screen effect is bugging you that much, head over to the YouTube and you'll just see the screen behind me. Yeah, he did a lot of work towards migraines, understanding hallucinations, understanding really strange neurological disorders that are really unseen or unheard of. Yeah, you like that? Um, Anywhere else. And just neural processing. A lot of his work was so important for everything that we do in neuroscience. You know, um, it is awful what's happening in Ukraine. Yeah. Um, Gosh, one of his patients, I remember she had damage to her parietal lobe and her cerebellum, and she wasn't able to propriocept herself. If you don't know what proprioception is, it's your body's ability to see itself without the eyes. So, like, you know, with my eyes closed, I can touch my nose and reach out, touch my nose, and touch my fingers together, touch my nose, fingers together, touch my nose, fingers together. And the reason I'm able to do that is because my body can kind of sense where it's at in 3-dimensional space in relation to other parts of it. Um, so this gal received damage to her brain and wasn't able to do that appropriately. For most of her body, it worked fine, but just for one arm, it couldn't. And she ended up, whenever she wasn't looking at her arm directly and like cognitively telling it to stay put, her arm would just like go off and do its own thing. It would grab and grope people and grab things off of their desk and throw them, and it would just do whatever it was doing until she would look at it and go, stop, just go to my side, stay there, right? And anytime she looked away, it would just start doing it again. um Nuts. Another patient had the same thing, but in their legs. And so they had to watch their legs walk, or they couldn't walk. Their legs would start going different directions. On one of the TikTok accounts, I feel like the Q&A feature is different now, but I do still have it on here on Jacko Stack. Thanks for all the likes, by the way. The migraine book. I don't know if we have a. Do we have a copy of that? We either have migraine or hallucinations. I don't think we have both. We might have both. I do have a lot of his books. As a dancer, you build up proprioception really well. I imagine you do. Yeah, you build up a lot of cerebellar function in dancing for sure. That's why a lot of boxers and a lot of martial artists you dance. One army. Aw. Aw. The opposite of phantom limb syndrome. No, I don't think that's right. It doesn't sound right. It is 11:11. Everybody make a wish. Quick. Okay, I made mine. I don't care what yours is. I made mine. That's it. We're moving on. Kim, I've been ignoring you over here. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You're my favorite person, and I love you. Okay, let me see if I can kind of adjust some things. Damn, this green screen was not a good idea. You know what? Can I change the effects while I'm in here? I don't know if I can. Oh, maybe I can. There we go. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe I'll put hang on, sorry. Just trying to figure stuff out. Thanks. Yeah, we love you too. Harm loves you. I'm saying that on her behalf, but she does. How did I do that? Okay. Maybe like this. Okay. I don't know. Is that better? Does that work? Oh God! Now it's doing all sorts of. I'm so old. I'm like trying to think of trying to think of any one of these that would be better, and none of them are good. All right. Well, fuck this. I'm out. We're just not gonna do it. Okay. I'm on YouTube. You know I'm on YouTube. Like an old man, huh? Oh God. He did write about synesthesia also, yeah. Yes, go to Neural Jack. That's natural Jack. That is incorrect. Spell it correctly. Get out of here. Spell it right or get out. Okay. Blinking too much. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm glad you like this. See, that's what it is. I gotta bully my followers on TikTok over here to YouTube. That's how I get my profit. Is I just bully everybody over here. Why do some of us have crappy equilibrium, like shoulder checking doorways and swaying when we walk? You know, I don't know. I don't know. So like one thing that could be happening is in the ears, right? We have cochlea in the ears, and those are responsible for our hearing. But like attached at the top of the cochlea are these little semicircular canals, and they are basically filled with fluid. They're like circles, right? Or like kind of semicircles. It's kind of like that. And they're filled with fluid, and they have little otoliths. They're like little stones inside of them. And then you have hair cells lining around the outside. So you think of this like tube with hair in it and then little stones. And as the stones are rolling across the hair, it's informing you about which direction you are, right? So these things are curled, these tubes are curled. So if you're like moving and those otoliths are moving across those hairs, it tells you which direction is up, right? Um, when we get older, that liquid inside of those tubes gets a little more viscous, and so sometimes we make kind of errors. We'll kind of like as we're walking, we might sort of lean a little bit. I do this. Hopefully, you're not having a stroke or you don't have a brain tumor, because those can definitely cause you to do that, and it'll get progressively worse. You'll know because it'll get progressively worse, and usually rapidly. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. I don't know. It could be other stuff too. Stuff with your cerebellum. Yeah, fine motor skills are usually in the cerebellum. It's cerebellar activity, right? It's doing like really fine stuff. Like, I don't know. Don't worry about you. Half deaf in one ear. I don't know. Maybe you have some neuronal connections that are impeded there. You shouldn't have asked. I'm sure you're fine. Hopefully, it's not too bad. If it is, maybe ask your doctor. That might be a good idea, actually. If you really feel like you're losing hearing in one side of your in one ear, if you feel like you're losing hearing in one ear, and you're also going off balance, it probably is not a brain tumor, but it might be neurological, an issue. I would ask my doctor. Might not even be a serious one. Might even be something really common. People are weird like that. It's tested. Okay. What do they say? You're just terminally weird, like me. Oh, sorry. I kind of Yeah, if you've been here for longer than 5 minutes, you better be subscribed to Neural Jack on YouTube. Stones and hair. Yeah, yeah. What causes seizures? Well, seizures are generally caused by miscommunication in the brain. You have a neuron that talks to another neuron. Sometimes that other neuron talks back, right? So they're sending information to each other. Really, in reality, you have a trillion connections here, neurons just communicating. Sometimes information goes two ways at the same time, and it should never do that. When it does, it can spark almost an over processing like feedback loop where we're just getting way too much excitation into a narrow area. And sometimes it can spread out. This is like a grand mal seizure. This is when someone like throws themselves to the floor and starts convulsing hard. They generally, it's not painful except for the damage that's done while it's happening, but while it's happening, you don't experience pain. You also don't remember anything that's happened. Some people feel like it's kind of a buzzing in the brain right before it occurs. And then they wake up. Usually you wet yourself. Other stuff can happen too. Um, where it normally occurs is in the corpus callosum. That's where it normally originates. Not always, but usually. There are other types of seizures too. They can be a lot smaller. Some people get seizures throughout the day while they're awake, you know. But yeah, the corpus callosum is between the two hemispheres. It's this huge, like, white chunk here. It's just a huge chunk of white matter. And what it is it's the axons from all the cells on this cortex and all the cells on this cortex crossing over to communicate to the other cortex, right? Um, yeah. So usually this space where the information is crossing over, somewhere along that line, you can have miscommunication. Although it can happen anywhere in the brain. Yeah, I'm back, and I'm on YouTube, Neural Jack. Check it out. I need more subscribers. You'd really be doing me a favor, helping me out if you do want to check it out. If you come to see my channel and you don't like it, you're like, I'm not going to subscribe to that bullshit, then please feel free to come back here and tell me why you hate it and it sucks. Or comment on any of my videos about why you hate it and it sucks. I'll take any feedback, constructive or otherwise, and I will adjust accordingly. Yeah. And also, it's good to see you too. You're terrible, terminally weird. Yeah, me too. Me too. It's a common thing among this group. Been that way since 18. Just guess I blew that ear out on loud sounds and concerts. Yeah, totally. Tell them you're lonely. Yeah. Hey, for anybody who doesn't know, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Neural Jack. I had it up, but then I boomered the shit out of that. Anyway, Kimsta is over there, and she's all by herself in the comments, along with two other people who aren't commenting at all. Feel free to go over there and comment with Kim and hang out with her because she needs friends. She's lonely. Yeah. Kim's like, I'll be quiet. Well, maybe I'll talk a little. Yeah, head on over. Neural Jack. And don't forget to hit the subscribe buttons and the little bell buttons so that you get notified. And don't forget to hit the little thumbs up buttons so that I know that I'm doing a good job and not a bad job, not a terrible, horrible job. Know that I'm a good boy. Where's my coffee? I thought I ordered coffee. It's not coming. Yeah. It's like I don't feel comfortable enough to talk, but then once you get me talking, I can't shut the fuck up. That's me for sure. Even when you're talking by yourself, you're just like constantly yammering onto yourself. Same. Same. Harm does it too. I hear her downstairs sometimes. I'm like, what? And she's like, nothing. Don't worry about it. I wonder why we do that. There's got to be a neurological reason for why some people do that. Yeah, I need more water.
My goodness, he's chugging stuff up there.
Chugging agua. Subscribed. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks, Ember. Oh, my coffee? Thanks, son. This is my passive-aggressive way of getting my wife to make me coffee.
I ordered coffee.
I think I ordered coffee. Yeah, but it's not coming, I guess, because I don't matter. I'm not important. Nobody cares about me. Yeah. So anyway, I've got a brain. It's pretty cool. It's about the size of a real human brain. That'd be like my brain fitting in there. Although I'm pretty sure that my brain's got a little bit of meshy holes going on in there. You've had a little too many TBIs. Why do some people have an internal monologue and some just have pictures of thoughts? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I would argue that maybe some people do not. Okay, so earlier I was talking about working memory, right? And how some people have the visuospatial sketchpad, right? That they use as a learning tool and as a retrieval cue. So they need to picture things in three-dimensional space as they're talking about them. I think some people are really good at that, and other people are really good at the other aspect of working memory, which is the phonological loop, right? They're really good at like repeating semantic information back to themselves. So I think that people who have an internal dialogue, I think they're using their working memory out loud and just giving verbiage to it. And I think the reason why you're doing this is because largely a part of how we encode information as adults, not so much as children, but as adults, not so much as small little bitty children. Older children, older kids, adolescents, and adults typically encode information through story. We use words to encode our memories, right? So it would stand to reason that some people have an easier time encoding information by speaking it or repeating it back to themselves, using that phonological loop, but out loud, right? During the working memory process. Thank you. I have to go get my coffee now. I'll be right back. 1 second. I love my wife. She's so cute. If only I could hold her, but I can't because I'm diseased. Even though the tests all say I'm not diseased. I don't know. I don't know anymore. Old coffee out, new coffee in. What's up? I'm ready to go. Kim. Maybe that's why I speak out loud to myself so much too. Never any peace at all. My wife is the cutest. Absolutely. She's the most adorable person on this planet. If you're not following Full Metal Harmony, you should be. This is why I calcified my pineal gland with fluoride and sugar. Being this woke will make you miser. Yeah. You did that on purpose? Did you use a what do you call that? A cannula? Just stick a cannula in there and just kind of pour it in. Oh, I love you. Yeah, stupid pineal gland. Calcify it. Screw that thing. Dumbass vestigial eyeball. It's not totally vestigial, but as functioning as an eyeball, it's vestigial, I imagine. I don't think it actually works as an eye. It does get information from the eyes. You like that? Oh, that was like that one. I did a video and I kind of made fun of this lady, so I took it down because I was like, nah, I'm being a dick. There's this lady, I forget what her name was. irrelevant. She was like, oh, like saying that she could read minds and that she had, extrasensory perception of some kind. And so she was like I don't know, like a medium or something. And I don't know, as is the typical thing that I see a certain demographic of person do, but I'm not going to mention who it is. Certain people tend to like put a target on themselves and act like they're being oppressed, and they're not. Anyway, in that stereotypical fashion, this lady sort of acted like people were making fun of her because she believed that she had a third eye, the pineal gland. Okay, technically, okay, it used to be an eye. Fine, whatever. But this is somehow what she's using to see the future and read people's thoughts or some bullshit. And she goes on to, play herself laughing at herself as though she's, whatever. Anyway, she then goes on to say, yeah, you've never heard of the pineal gland? And she goes on to like badly explain it with shit science that doesn't make any sense at all. And so I kind of stitched her in another video, or I couldn't stitch. She turned that off. But I explained what the pineal gland actually was. Kind of. It was like just a funny video. I wasn't trying. I don't know. Then I realized I guess I'm kind of being a dick, so I took it down. But it was kind of funny. Just it's funny what people think things are sometimes. I don't know. Feeling spicy. Maybe you guys could do a societal neural take on why people have different kinks, like weird ones. It might be weird, but it would be interesting. People would probably subscribe to that for sure. Okay, I'll be quiet. No, you don't have to be quiet. Hey, we will give the people what they want. And if what they want is lewd stuff, then we're going to give them lewd stuff. You ever seen the brain naked? Ew. Next time, leave it up. I don't want to be mean. My hairstylist loved me. I'm so talkative. Well, yeah, if I had one. I mean, I'm bald, so I don't I don't have a hairstylist. They can style my beard. Maybe you can do that. I'm very talkative. I guess that's why I have a YouTube channel and a TikTok with almost 400,000 subscribers and going down every day. Kim, don't facepalm me. This is top quality, top tier jokes, okay? That I'm providing to you for free. You think I get anything out of this? Nothing. I get nothing. You know how much TikTok pays me? 2 cents a day if I'm lucky. You know how much YouTube pays me? Nothing. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I need to monetize. Please subscribe. I need this. I need this. Be mean, it's fun. No, it's not. It's not fun. It can be fun, but I don't want to. There's already enough negative bullshit in the world. I want to provide fun things in the world. I want to make people happy with my life. I don't want to make people feel bad about themselves. I don't want to make people feel bad. Ring the bell link in the description. Yeah, ring the bell link in the description. Press the buttons. Hit the smash the like it my face buttons of, I don't know, subscribe. Hit the red. There's a red button. Hit it. And then there's a bell. Hit that. Thumbs up. Hit that. And then there's also like this little spot where you can type stuff in. Do that. Type it in. Say things. Hello. We're talking about the brain. I'm pretending to. Anyway, I don't fucking know. Here's a neuron. Dance, neuron. Entertain the people. This is what they paid to see. Make money. You guys all make me happy. I usually do not stay interested in most things longer than a month. Here you are. It has been a year, almost a year. I think next month actually will have been a year that my channel has been up. And I literally got like 400,000 subscribers from a video series that I did a year ago after waking up still half asleep. And I did it as a joke because I thought nobody would ever see it. Thanks, TikTok. The internet is weird. Use this page to be mean. Use the other page to teach. No. Why is the brain shaped the way that it is? Well, it's shaped this way so that it can fit inside of a skull. That's literally what it's shaped for. So notice all the wrinkles. The wrinkles are called gyri and sulci, right? Or gyri and sulci, or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't really matter how you pronounce it, as long as you know what you're talking about. The gyri, or gyrus, singular, gyri is plural, are the outer grooves on the surface. And the sulci, or sulcus, is singular, are the little, like, inside grooves, right? It's like you have the outer curve is the gyrus, and then the inner groove is the sulcus, right? So the reason the brain is folded, it's sort of like crunched up like a paper ball, is because you're able to take a really big cortex and smash it into a tiny circular area so we can fit it inside our head. If we didn't do this, we would have a head that's shaped like a big old disc, or maybe just like a big old flat something weird. So this is in order to compact our brain into the most circular, smallest thing that we can. It increases surface area, so we have more cortex to work with, while keeping it compact so that we don't look like a ping pong paddle with legs. Were human brains bigger or smaller 100,000 years ago? I can't answer that. I can say that they were structured differently. They might have been bigger. They might have been smaller. I'm not sure. And actually, some of our ancestors might have been bigger and some of them might have been smaller. It would just depend. But the shape of the brain is a little bit different. Notice how lovely and round it is. The shape of the brain used to be a little bit more flat, kind of wide out here, kind of like a weird sort of, I don't know how to explain it, sort of pancaked a little more. And then the other thing is, notice how we have like these nice demarcations up front for the prefrontal cortex, where the eyeballs sit, right? These used to be a lot more round. And then also, as humans have evolved, the cortex is wrapped around the entire brain, grown around it. But I imagine we probably have an ancestor somewhere where the cortex stops about here and doesn't cover this chunk. Yeah, there's probably lots of differences, honestly. So I don't know. I'll look into that. I'll let you know what I find. Please use that chaos for your outro. What chaos, Katie? Too much chaos. I can't remember what's going on ever. Cerebellum and the lobes and things. Well, I'll talk about the cerebellum too. So, and actually, like some of the brain. Okay, I'll tell you another thing about the shape of the brain. Let me start at the back at the cerebellum. The cerebellum, notice this is called the little brain. Notice how it is more finely folded up. Sorry, I was showing my other camera over here. So the cerebellum is much more finely folded up. It's called the little brain because, in essence, it acts like its own little brain. And this little brain is dedicated purely to your precision motor skills, right? Without this, you cannot walk, you can't talk, you can't sing, you can't Do the fun, wacky things you do with your fingers. Don't take that out of context. This is very important and vital for life. Ergo, let's put it at the back of the head so we don't smack it. Inside the brain, you have your brainstem, also vital for life. You have your pons, your medulla. These are all vital for processes such as heart beating, breathing, sleeping, excitement, arousal, anything. Anything that keeps you alive is happening right here. We should probably put this on the innermost part of the brain to keep it protected. So everything's surrounded by cortex. All of your ability to form new memories, feel and process reward, all this stuff is in the middle. Most protected because it's most important. Most important circuitries in the middle, most protected. Moving on to the least important stuff, the cortex, the stuff you used to think. Believe it or not, that's the least important thing you need to do is think. The occipital lobe processes information about vision. Vision being our primary sense in most humans. It's probably most important. We should put that in the back of the head. The ability to feel your body and the ability to move your body are also very important. We're going to put those at the back of the head. Next is the ability to hear, also very important, but not as important as vision, if you have vision. We'll put it at the sides of the head and actually tuck it under the brain. So very important, kind of slips under the brain. It's going to be pretty well protected. The thing that doesn't need the most protection, the thing that needs the least protection, is your frontal cortex, your frontal lobe. So what does this do? Well, your frontal lobe is thought to be primarily inhibitory processes. Everything else in the brain tells you how to see, how to feel, how to beat the heart, how to move the guts, how to all the things, right? Even to seek out a mate, to seek out food, to da-da-da-da-da. Okay? I need everything I need to live here. I don't need any of this to live. I don't need emotional processing, right? I don't need to understand other people's points of views. Technically, I don't even need to be able to talk, right? Anywhere here. I don't need any of that. I don't need to be sociable, right? What I need to do is eat food. But the thing is if I find food and eat it, okay, I'll survive. But let's say Tom has the food and I don't have any and I need food to survive. And there's Tom. Should I walk up and punch Tom and take his food? I think I did a video about this at one point. No, that's obviously not the way to go about it. I might even die if I try it, right? Therefore, I have my prefrontal cortex, my frontal cortex, this whole lobe, dedicated to saying, well, you could do that thing, but you should probably stop and think about it and reason with it for a minute. Is there a way that you could ask Tom for that food? Or maybe ask him to share some of that food? Or maybe tell you where he got that food so you can go get some food? Right? That's the way to do it. You need your frontal cortex to be able to make that kind of decision, right? So in terms of like direct, immediate survival, it's the least important. It's at the front of the head. And the front of the head is the hardest part of the skull. You know what that means? I can use it as a weapon. Literally, we're kind of designed to headbutt things. That's one of our, we bite, we can scratch, and we can also headbutt. Those are our protective mechanisms. And we can grapple, right? But the thing is when we grapple something, when we bite something, we're leaving our head open to be damaged by whatever we're attacking or being attacked by. So it makes sense to put the hardest part of the skull at the front. It's the most likely to get hit. And then also put the least important part of the brain, or at least not least important, but least necessary for immediate survival at the front of the head. Yeah. The brain's actually pretty ingenious how the brain is designed. And the blood-brain barrier is designed in such a way that things shouldn't cross it, but if toxins do cross it, they affect the prefrontal cortex before going to the rest of the brain. This does lead to some pretty catastrophic things, especially with alcohol, because you kind of need this part of your brain to tell you not to do things you shouldn't do. And that's when you get problems with impulse control. So, of course, when you start drinking, the first thing you do is shut down the part of your brain that tells you when it's probably time to stop drinking, or probably not a good idea to get in your car and drive, you know? Why do so many of us have vision issues and need glasses and whatnot more than other senses? Worsening vision is widespread. Is that process similar to what causes blindness? Blindness can be caused by a million different things. Usually neural degradation. Most humans have really good vision, but there are a lot of humans who are very nearsighted. And I can't remember the specifics of it, but it's actually thought to be related to the fact that our ancestors lived in trees. I think it has some relation to tree life. Our vision is indicative of that. But most vision issues have to do with the shape of the eyeball being weird, a little off. This can be due to a number of things. You might have received damage to your eyes. You might just be born that way. A lot of times, blood pressure issues lead to vision problems, especially when you're cutting off blood flow to the ocular nerves. Then you have vision problems. You get like the peppering, or you might just become blind altogether in one eye. Usually, if you're blind in one eye, the other eye follows suit sometimes. Not usually, but it can happen. Yeah, lots of different things can happen. We haven't known a moment of peace since. Poor Harm. Yeah. You're a lefty. How is your brain different? It's probably not all that different, honestly. I think people like want there to be a difference. All that means is that you have your motor cortices. Why is that hard to say? You have your motor cortices, right? And they are like, one of them is here. I'm going to show on this camera here, and the other one is here, right? So you have the right motor cortice and the left motor cortice. The right motor cortice tends to lead to the left body, and the left motor cortice tends to lead to the right body, except in the face. In the face, it's usually a direct translation to the same side. So we call the opposite side contralateral. We call the same side ipsilateral. So the motor cortex on the right side moves to the ipsilateral side of the face on the right. The motor cortex on the right side moves to the contralateral side of the body, so the left side of the body, right? Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Usually, that's how that works. I imagine people who are left-handed, who, dominantly move the left side of their body forward, I guess with purpose, typically have more expression in the right hemisphere of their brain, in the motor cortex. Probably not throughout the whole brain. Maybe. I don't know. Probably not throughout the whole right side, but maybe. I don't know. This is also really interesting for Harmony because she's missing her left hand, which would normally be represented by the right hemisphere motor cortex. So a lot of that cortice is likely being taken up by the area in between the hand and the shoulder. And I think there's a facial area there. So I wouldn't be surprised if she had like a really sensitive part of her face. But also, she has the residual arm that she has is very sensitive at the end of that residual arm. So I imagine a lot of that information is being taken up there. Pretty interesting stuff. Yeah. She's a lefty with no left hand, but she is a leftist. Now compare to aliens. Alien brains, they're filled with helium like a balloon. What chemical does my brain release to make me fall in love? Well, your chemical doesn't release one, or your brain doesn't release one chemical. Rather, your brain releases a ton of chemicals, just dumps them out. What are we releasing? Well, we've got dopamine because it's rewarding. Love feels rewarding. It also promotes activity. Dopamine circuits are required for action. It also promotes memory function. Dopamine is required for that too, as well as acetylcholine. Acetylcholine. Serotonin is very important for stabilizing the mood, right? Makes you feel good. So you're going to get a boost of that. You're going to get your oxytocin, of course. You might get a little bit stressed out, maybe a little cortisol if you get the butterflies, you know? This whole amalgamation of chemicals does some weird things to the brain. Can make you kind of fuzzy. Real fuzzy feel goods, but also make you kind of dumb. Watching me pet the brain is funny. Why? He's my little buddy. it's actually kind of hideous. But that's fine. So am I. So it's cool. Sorry, bud. I didn't mean to be rude. You're cool. When you feel stuff, do you think to yourself, oh, there's my cortisol? No, I don't. The reason I don't is because I know that chemicals don't work that way in the brain. There's so many people who go, oxytocin is the cuddle hormone. Dopamine's the feel-good hormone or neurotransmitter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't work that way, right? Like serotonin, right? In the brain is responsible for a lot of your mood stabilization. And if you don't have enough of it, you can end up with a pretty serious mood disorder. Okay. So does serotonin stabilize mood? Probably not by itself. What does it do specifically? Well, it just messes with channels. And those channels do different things depending on where they're at in the brain and body. Serotonin also mediates how your body in the periphery, perceives pain and sends pain transmission. So it's like there is no chemical that does one thing. These chemicals all do a bunch of different things, and it's actually pretty hard to understand. Yeah. Oxytocin included, serotonin, dopamine, all of it. They all do different things depending on where they're at in the body. When I met Harmony, the dopamine. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on when I met Harm. About like passed out. Oh, it's very cute. I am technically not a neurologist. I am a neuroscientist. Neurologists typically treat neurological disorders. I do neurological research for pain. I think when you ask why did I become this, I think it all starts back when I was a little kid and I was in a really bad car accident and lost the ability to form new memories for a while. And also a myriad of other issues with my brain. And I ended up working with a bunch of neurologists for a long time. They were really cool people. And I think a little part of me, a little part of baby Jared, just hung on to that memory of those people and really wanted to be a part of that community again. Dominant eye and a myopic eye. What about creativity in the brain? Why are we propelled to create? I think that the human brain and body is just a set of tools. That's all it is. We're all just tools, man, in this cosmic nightmare. But we're a huge set of tools for survival. And we live in a world where we don't really have to fight for our survival as much. Some people do, but those who don't become bored. Those who don't have to immediately fight for their immediate survival become bored. What are we going to do? The brain was made, it was wired to do stuff, to take action, to make things, right? And to solve problems. And so I think that we still have that compulsive evolutionary mechanism to do this, but the problems that we used to have are already solved to an extent that they are no longer really issues for most of us. And so I think that we instead occupy our creativity, that side of us, by tackling problems that haven't been solved, whether or not they're really important. Sometimes the problem to be solved is, how do I make the best looking thing? How do I make the coolest thing? In my case, how do I reach the most people and teach them? Right? How do I make education accessible and free to people? That's my thing, right? Do I need to do this to survive? Probably not. Do I want to do this? Yes. Why? I don't know, but I'm driven toward it. I feel like it'll help. Sweet band name. Cosmic Nightmare. Yeah. Wired to cause problems, not solve them. Maybe your brain needs problems to solve, so it makes them. And then it's like, no, wait, I'm not ready.
I gotta come up real quick.
Okay. I do not have access to my mask.
Then I will wait.
Give me 1 second. Hang on. I'll be right back. I got a negative result. I need to wear a mask. Perfect. Come on up, babe. Hanging on. Can you hear me through this? Leftist and left-handless. Neuropsychology major. Oh, good studying.
We're not out of the woods until probably Saturday.
I know.
The one making you stay up here looking some sort of terrible, abusive one.
Writing my semester paper about the enteric nervous system. Okay, cool. Good luck to you. I hope that it works out good. Is it Bunny Bee? Hey, awesome. Proud of you. Let me know how it goes. I'll be on tomorrow, Friday Night Live on YouTube. Speaking of which, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, come on over here. It's Neural Jack. Oh, goodness. Generally speaking, how is the research conducted? What research? Mine? I can't really talk about my research. Do you mean just like research in general when you say generally speaking? Is there any credibility to twins being able to sense what the other is feeling when they're not near each other? Weirdly enough, I can sense things about my twin, or I have in the past, although those may have just been really strange coincidences, but they are strange enough that they really feel like they're not. But as I've said before, people are really good at people are statisticians. We're really good at recognizing patterns of behavior and activity. Oh. Bedtime. Good night, Kimsta. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Because humans are so good at pattern recognition, I think that twins who are very much in sync with one another may be able to pick up on stuff that's happening with each other purely on the basis that their physiology is matched up with the others.
Did you take this?
Yes. I love you. Creating art is a problem-solving challenge for you. Yes, for me too. Yeah. New art. We need new things. Oh, okay. I'm taking this off. Oh. Bye. Why do I get depressed in cycles, waves, rather than all the time? Is that normal? I would not say that it's totally abnormal. Although, if you have not been to a clinician about it, you may want to talk with somebody, because having chronic depression is a serious thing. Doesn't sound like that's what you're talking about. It sounds like you're talking about going into states of depression periodically. This could just be you being sad. It could be. And if it is, okay, then no treatment's necessary, right? But if you feel that your symptoms are severe enough that they're impeding in your life, maybe you're not just sad. Maybe you really are experiencing depression in short periods of time. Or maybe they're long periods of time, they're just periodic rather than continuous. Okay, you may have a major depressive disorder. I don't know. I can't give you clinical advice, but I will say that you might want to check with somebody, because there is also instances where maybe you don't quite meet the definition of depression. Maybe the reason you're cycling, if you really feel like it's a cycle, right, or a wave, the way you're describing it sounds like it's oscillating. This is very much the up and down process. If your lows are really that low and you're cycling, then your highs are probably also pretty high. Correct me if I'm wrong, Panic in Pajamas. But if your highs are really high and your lows are really low, you might be experiencing bipolar disorder, which means that you'll become depressed and may go through states of mania. Keep in mind that people with bipolar disorder do not always experience many states of mania. In fact, technically, to meet the diagnosis, you only have to do it once. The real key characteristic is the periodic depression symptoms. So if you really do feel like you are depressed and that it is a serious issue, you should go see somebody, first off, hands down. But if you are experiencing the elevated mood afterward, you're really going through a cycle, there might be something there to be said about bipolar disorder. Then again, this is all relative, right? And it's, what is it relative to? Well, it's relative to your quality of life. If your work is not being impeded or affected, if your relationships with yourself and with other human beings is not impeded or afflicted in any way, if you are able to clean your house, get your chores done, if you're able to live a meaningful, good life and still experience this, then it's probably not really a disorder. If it's bad enough that you really can't get out of bed, at times you can't get out of bed, you don't want to call anybody or talk to anybody, you don't want to go to work, you don't feel like eating, or you're eating too much, you're not getting sleep, you're getting too much sleep, I don't know, whatever. You're just really disordered. And then, that, for one thing, that's a disorder on its own. But you also may experience periods of time where you're like on top of the world. You feel like you might even be God. Who knows? You start a million projects and don't finish any of them. You might finish like one or two, but you start like five. You might be going through mania. How do you go about the research? So research basically follows the scientific method, which is pretty simple. But if you don't know the scientific method, you start with a question, a hypothesis. And in research, that hypothesis should be based on previous work, extensive previous work. So the first thing you do is you say you want to ask a question. You need to look into the literature to see if that question has been asked before and hasn't been answered. If it has, strike that, next question. But if it hasn't, Then you want to research the literature, everything that has to do with this thing that you need to ask a question about, right? Everything. Anything that you can think of, and sometimes while reading, you'll think of new stuff. Try to get everything you can down to where you can make a hypothesis. You say, well, if this is true, and that's true, and this is other thing is true, and that's true, then this other thing that we don't currently know must also be true, or I think it might be. That's your hypothesis. So then you ask the hypothesis, is this thing a thing? Right? Whatever it is. Which in a lot of instances, you have also a null hypothesis. So you have your hypothesis, there is a difference between this and this. And then you have a null hypothesis. There is no difference between this and this. And so you test for them, right? So you design an experiment that will get it testing this thing. And then you run the experiment, collect the data, and analyze the data. And the data will tell you either yes, there is a difference, or no, there is no difference, right? In some fashion. Sometimes the data doesn't look like that. Sometimes it looks like other stuff. Sometimes the data doesn't look like anything. A lot of times it just looks like a random mess of bullshit. Okay, then what? Well, if you find that your hypothesis was incorrect, then it is time to readjust. Why do you think it was incorrect? Did you perform the experiment wrong? Did you design it incorrectly? Is there something about the design of the experiment that could have been done better? Is it just a straight up no? This answer is no, and it's not what I thought it was going to be. Okay, that's fine too. Now, how do I adjust? Do I need to ask a different question? Do I need to go about the same question from a different angle? Right? So now how can I adjust my experiment to answer the question from a different angle? And then you run the new experiment, collect the data, get your answer. And if your answer is there is no difference, you go back through the whole process again. If your answer is there is a difference, then you ask yourself, what does this difference mean? You write about it in a paper and you show it to somebody else and you say, this is my finding, right? Typically, it's not quite that direct. Usually you do a bunch of different experiments to try to prove the point, and then you prove the point in the paper and send that off for publication. And then rinse and repeat. How can sleep apnea affect the brain? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that you're not getting appropriate oxygen to the brain, which may not be like super important when you're like trying to sleep because your body is at such like a depressed state that you don't really need a lot of oxygen, but you still need some. And if you're like suffering from apnea, you're probably suffocating your brain a little bit, I imagine. Might wake up with like headaches. You could even die, you know. Might have like severe brain fog, things like that. Your life is normal 90% of the time. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's not even, you know, maybe it is. If your life is normal 90% of the time, I would say that you probably do not meet the definition of the diagnostic criteria in the DSM 5 for depression. And the reason why is because a lot of that criteria needs to be happening all day or almost all day, nearly every day for a span of time. I forget what that span of time is, like 2 weeks or something. But if you're just experiencing it throughout the day, it's probably not severe enough to be classified as a disorder. And shit, it might not even be anything. Maybe it's your normal. You know, the thing is we try to say what's normal, but like that's not defined by everybody else. We have stuff that we can say is okay, like this is typical, right? Typically we see this thing, right? Typically people have two eyes. Typically, is that normal? I guess, you know, but like normal is all relative. You know, what's normal for you is not necessarily normal for other people. That's why lie detection is so difficult. Everybody's different. Yeah, and definitely listen to Full Metal Harmony because she is going through the whole DSM-5 right now. Or she might have already gone through it. I'm not sure. Is sugar and flour linked with problems regarding insufficient neuronal regeneration? I actually have no idea. I imagine they're probably not super linked. Like if you're eating a diet that is just heavy in flour and sugar, maybe because you're nutritionally starved. But if you're getting all your nutrients that you need and happen to be getting a lot of flour and sugar, I don't think it'll affect you very much. Yeah, I would talk to your doctor for sure. How you go about it in the field. I mean, it basically is just that way, you know. Um, in the field, you are usually surrounded by experts in that field, right? So you definitely do a lot of asking questions, have people direct you to different literature. Um, yeah, and just always be thinking, you know, always thinking about the next thing. What am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with that? When I do this, how can I change this? How can I make this that? How do I make everything as systematic as possible? But the mentality needs to be, how do I boil everything down to a very specific question? And then how do I answer that very specific question? The simpler you can make it, the better. This is actually the most difficult thing to do, is to make your question simple, to only contain one small component. If it contains other things, it becomes muddied with those other things, and you don't really get to answer that one specific question. Now you're generally or vaguely answering a bunch of different questions at once. You're welcome. Closed eye visual hallucinations. They can be caused by migraines. Sometimes in the occipital lobe and in the, so that's the V1, your primary visual cortex, and also up into the M1, the primary motor cortex, which is responsible for watching movement and movement in general, feeling movement. And then also spreading into the V4 in the temporal lobe, which is responsible for color processing, as well as a bunch of other areas. Sometimes your brain gets bored. This usually happens when you're falling asleep and your eyes are closed. Your brain needs to metabolize to stay healthy, and that requires that it becomes activated. So your brain, when you're sleeping, is just sort of like randomly firing all over the place because it's trying to do a bunch of things. It's defragmenting, right? Consolidating new information, getting rid of old, outdated information, trying to predict the future, doing all sorts of things. And when you fall asleep, you go into a state where uh, parts of your brain become so inactive that it's actually kind of dangerous for them. And so that part of the brain starts to play with itself to keep itself alive. This is what leads to hallucinations, usually auditory. A lot of people who are tired and just about to fall asleep hear somebody say their name, or they might hear people talking in the room next door, even though they know for a fact nobody's there. I hear it all the time. I hate it. I usually hear a little girl and her mom talking back and forth. I'll hear it in the other room, which is really dumb because it doesn't matter. It's not ghosts or whatever, right? Like it's wherever I live, it's always happened. Usually, like right as I'm trying to fall asleep, I can hear them in the other room. That's my temporal lobes playing, right? Your occipital lobe can play too. Then you get the visual stuff. Why is everybody thanking me? Are nootropics real? I'm going to say mostly no. I'm going to say no. Nootropics are not real. They're real, but are they effective and do they work? Probably not. Maybe like a little temporarily, maybe. But I think most research behind neurotropics is BS. Although there is the lion's mane fungus, which definitely proved me wrong, but I think most stuff is kind of BS. Your friend has them anytime she closes her eyes. Like she just sees visions. Sounds like she has a very hyperactive brain, which is not a bad thing. I don't think. It's bad. It's bad if it is upsetting to your friend. Oh, one sec. Uh, no, I didn't harm. Should I? How can I focus more? Meditation. That literally is the key. If you try meditation, you find you can't do it, try it again. Because meditation is a practice. Usually, you want to do some sort of meditation that improves focusing, usually mindful meditation. There's a really good one called body scanning. You start at one part of your body and move all the way down. You focus on this one body part and move all the way down through the rest of your body, focusing on one part of the body at a time. Right. And the thing is you're going to be constantly floating away from that thought into bullshit, the tangentials. And the goal here is not to not float off into tangentials. The goal is to recognize when you do and bring yourself back. And the more times you bring yourself back, the better you get at it, to the point where you stop going off on tangents so much. Then you're improving your focus, like especially with like mindful breathing exercises. You're focusing on the one thing, which is the breath. Focus on the breath. Come back to the breath. It's always about the breath. And so you're training your brain to stop going off in different directions and stay focused on the task at hand. How can you stay motivated? That one's a harder one to answer. For me, it's hard to stay motivated. Sometimes I have to just get up and force myself. But like that's a valid way to do things. Like it's like the old adage, an object in motion tends to stay in motion, which of course is a physical law. But I find it true for myself. Like if I'm not having an easy time being motivated, the best thing I can do is just get up and do the thing. And it sucks and I'm doing it badly and I'm not enjoying it, but I'm doing it. But the thing is as I'm doing it badly and not enjoying that I'm doing it badly, I'm wanting to make it better. And so I take actions to make it better. As I'm taking actions to make it better, I sort of find my process along the way. Then I start to enjoy it. Then I get really motivated. And then I want to do all the things. So I think mostly it's it's a combination of things. First, I got to get up and move. That's just nothing's going to happen if I don't, right? Get up and move. That's the first thing. The second thing is make it applicable to me. Why am I doing this thing? Why is this thing important to me? If I can't answer those things in a good way, I probably shouldn't be doing the thing, right? If I want to do something, it needs to be good for me in some way or good for others in some fashion. I think if you do those things, you can have a pretty good time staying motivated. Human beings, not doings. I like that name. LCPC. Right on. Neural mechanisms. For what exactly? Sorry, I might have missed something. Just trying to bring this back down. Bring what back down? Hi, Tiger Cat. I missed you. How are you? It's good to see you. It's always good to see you. Oh, if you want to, check out my YouTube, Neural Jack. I need more subscribers so that I can hopefully monetize and get better stuff, make better videos. The closed eye visual hallucinations. Yeah, I'm not sure what's causing that. I think most likely they have, I don't know, their visual processing is probably hyperactive in some form. You asked a question, you'll go subscribe. Aw, thanks for subscribing. I had the thing up in the background, but my green screen was messing with the TikTok's green screen. So can somebody please type Neural Jack into the chat for Tiger Cat? How's my day going? My day's going all right. I got exposed to COVID the other day at work, and that was kind of weird, but it's okay. So I've been quarantining in my house away from my wife, which makes me sad because I love my wife to death. For the last couple of days. I did get tested today, just got the results. They came back negative, but we are a very careful bunch. We know that it can sometimes take up to 5 days for a COVID test to be positive after somebody has been exposed. So I suppose I'm going to wait at least 2 or 3 more days before I take another test, just to be sure. Because I don't want to get my wife sick, because I love her very much. But other than that, not bad. I'm hanging out with you good folks. And I got a couple more subscribers for my channel, which is awesome. That helps me out a ton. Thank you, friends. Keep telling her to try to get a fMRI. Yeah, those are, I don't know. If she can be part of a clinical study, that would be good because she'd be helping out some researchers. Also, she would get her brain scanned. If her life is not disordered by this, it may not be necessary for her to get an fMRI. And in fact, it might cost a ton of money. So it may not be a good idea. I'm a very interesting guy. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. Yeah, we've been going for about 3 hours now and 10 minutes. I think a trial somewhere. Thanks for your help. Yeah, totally. Happy to help any way that I can. That would be the easiest way to get in. If they do see something weird, they'll see it, and they'll probably tell you about it. If not, it's probably not a cause for concern. I really doubt that it's cause for concern, so long as it doesn't disorder that person's day. If it really is bothering that person, the other thing it could be is a migraine. They might be experiencing migraines because I used to have those hallucinations when I was younger, when I had migraines. I have different migraines now, but at that time I had those really weird hallucinatory ones. They were non-painful migraines. Yeah, so that might also be a thing that's occurring. Is that your brain trying to stay stimulated? What, mine? This one? Wake up, brain. Here's a neuron. Have fun with that. It's very cute. I got this neuron as a graduation gift when I got my master's. He's adorbs. He doesn't have a mouth, though. I should have Harmony decorate him. Yeah, there's plenty of different types of migraines. You asked a question. I didn't see your question, Tiger Cat. Yeah, I'm looking back. I don't see it. It must have got swooped up by the Tic Tac. Harmony would definitely rock this thing. She rocks everything she does. Yeah, I'm not sure what your question is. You could try to ask it in YouTube, maybe. What happens to the undeveloped brain when taking acid? I don't know. So here's the thing about that is that psychedelics, there's not a lot of research to show that psychedelics do permanent damage to the brain, even very young. But weirdly enough, they do. Like, we know that they do, but we can't prove it. Here's what I mean. You can like image the brain and it might be a little different on psychedelics, but like overall, when the psychedelic has taken its effect and then worked its way out of the system, you look at the brain and there's not like a whole lot of difference between the person who's done the psychedelic and the person who hasn't. There is not very much evidence to suggest that, in fact, there's none that I know of to suggest that there's any permanent damage due to psychedelic use, including LSD. But I do know for a fact that if you do LSD at a young age and you do a lot of it, it will permanently screw you up, even if you can't see it on an fMRI. You know this because the person's behavior is permanently warped from a normal, like the typical individual's behavior. Um, and there are a lot of examples of this. Iron Maiden, yeah. What's up, Moody's Point? The name is Neuraljack. I'll just type it in. I asked somebody to type it in, but nobody did. Bam, Neuraljack. That's my YouTube. Come find me. Come at me, bro. Oh, is that you? Is that Catherine? Who's Catherine? Is that Tiger Cat? I think it is. Oh, I think it is. You're making me want to watch that show again. I really love that show. It's very cute, very silly, and very calm. It's a good one. Yep, that's you. It's funny that it sent me an email. I don't think it's done that for anybody else. That's really weird. Ah, Cat. That makes sense. Then I will call you Cat. Or I will call you Tiger Cat. Whatever you prefer. Very weird. McDonald's is only source of nutrition. Thoughts? If you're Buddhist, then you'll be fine. Apparently, they believe that your body is able to handle anything you put into it, and your body knows if something is bad and is not going to help you, then they trust their body to remove it, whatever it is that's bad. And whatever is useful, their body will keep. Weirdly enough, that seems to work for them. I don't know why. I don't know why it doesn't work for us, in the US. But if you keep eating McDonald's every day and that's it, that's all you're eating 3 times a day, you're going to die. Like, that's not good for you. You'll be sluggish. It's way too high in salt and fat, which are things that you need for sure. You need a lot of other different nutrients that are just not found in McDonald's. McDonald's is nutritionally starving, which also incidentally or coincidentally causes you to eat more of it because that's just a sort of natural mechanism. It also dehydrates you, which also causes you to consume more of it, including the soda. The soda dehydrates you. That's why it's so salty and sugary, which will cause you to consume more of it and get more thirsty. It's all designed to make you consume it. That's all it's designed to do. It's not designed to provide you with any nutrition. So I don't know how long you would live off that diet. All things in moderation is correct. Just not your whole name. Okay. All right, Kat. It is a great show, too. It is such a good show. I love that show. We're talking about Toradora, by the way, if anybody's interested. Increase your salt intake. I need to lower mine. My blood pressure is too high all the time. I'm just so angsty about everything. Urgh. Making you want to watch it? Let's watch it together. We'll stream it or something. Actually been doing a lot better itself. How is McDonald's doing better? I have my doubts. Maybe while you work tomorrow. Right on. Yeah, it would be fun. It would be. All right, we've been going strong for 3 hours and 17 minutes now. I think it's probably time for me to end it. I'm getting pretty tired, worn out, talking too much. Just being a complete narcissist over here, staring at myself in a bunch of different screens. Yeah, definitely. I've tried to get Harm to watch it before, but I think she was too distracted with schoolwork. Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm going to take off. This is a good live. Thanks, everybody, for all the fun. Yeah, make sure you go over to Neural Jack on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. I need your help. Please help me. Help. I need help. Subscribe. Click the buttons. Do the things you know what to do. And yeah, I appreciate everybody who's helping me build my channel. I'm very grateful for that. You're all awesome people. Thanks for the fun live. Thanks for all the thought-provoking questions and the cool community. I really enjoy what we have here. Let's keep it growing. Yeah. Anyway, with that, we will see you again another time. Bye.